still love that opening. And after not being here for a week, we missed last week. This is such I just feel really good. This is a good Sunday. So I want to welcome everybody to Comics Cast, and this is another episode of Let It Out with the wonderful, the spectacular, the ever special Rick, my co-host, off to this side. Yes, Rick. Round of applause. Yes.
Yes.
Now, I hope everybody noted the weird tradition we have here in the United States, which is daylight savings time. And I thought that I let our audience know, I put that, but I didn't. I forgot to send a personal message to Rick and say, "Hey, Rick, we're springing forward." And he had some pleasant words to say to me in the chat about that. So Heidi, I am so sorry for taking Rick away from you an hour.
She wants to kill you. I'm not even joking. That she's had enough. She's had enough of your bullshit.
Oh, I guess I'm in the doghouse. I am definitely in the doghouse.
Nah, you're all right.
Okay, well, I am so happy to have Rick here. He always brings a certain.
What's your words?
A certain oomph. He brings a certain oomph to Comics Cast. So I am happy that we're all here again on this Sunday. It is March 14th, and we have a very, very, very talented guest lined up for today. But before we do that, let's do a little bit of shameless self-promotion. I just got thrown off my game because I saw Heidi there. Well, thanks, Daryl. I feel so bad. But anyway, let's do the shameless self-promotion for Comics Cast on YouTube. So, Rick, can you pull that up real quick?
Oh, fuck. Yeah. Hang on. I got it.
He's typing really fast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is so professional. I'm a professional, you guys.
I don't know about you, but it's the temperature here.
Ta-da!
Oh, there we go. The temperature here in Virginia has gone to 70 degrees. It doesn't feel like winter anymore. So
I can see you're almost melting.
I know. I need to turn on my air conditioning. My heat is still on, so apologize for that. But yes, so you can find us. Look at the ticker below. It says Indie Comics Cast. So even though on Facebook we are at Comics Cast, you can find us on YouTube at indiecomicscast.com. So you can see from here we have a plethora of videos. Because that's the way we roll. We have plethoras of video. So check that out. Tons of content to you can watch all the past episodes. You can see that wonderful bumper that we had at the very beginning. You can see Rick play his kazoo, which I know everybody wants to hear. And we want you to like and subscribe. And I see that Rick kept he kept his subscription. So if you saw where his mouse was, that's how you can subscribe. That's how you can follow us. That's how you can see all the wonderful past episodes and even this episode today. If you want to check it out once it goes live, you can watch it on demand later on. So these are also archived on our Facebook page, but you can definitely find it here at Indie Comics Cast on YouTube. We want your love. We want your like and subscribe, and we want you to all follow us. Oh, here we go. We got the nerds of the round. Hey, you flash it way too fast. I can't read that fast.
Oh, I forgot you were old.
That's right. I am old. So yes, nerds of the round, we salute you. Thank you for dropping by. So that being said, let's get this out of here. Let's welcome our guest for today.
You're so demanding.
I am. I'm very demanding. All right. So here we go. I'm going to do the virtual drum roll, and you're going to get our guest in. All right. All right. All right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Man, my hands are getting tired. Come on.
Hey.
So here we go. We got Mr. the Great One, Andy Gray, because he's not black or white. He's gray. Andy Gray, how you doing here?
I'm good.
Wow,
I live.
Oh, you do live. Now, Mr. Andy Gray, I just got to know him a little more yesterday when we did our pre-show, and I got to tell you, I was fanboying from hour 1 to hour 2. I mean, it could have been like another show during our pre-show, but it's just going to be a thrill to showcase you because I was just bragging to Rick about how just the phenomenal personality you have, and your art just, it just complements it completely. So, Andy, meet Rick. Rick, meet Andy.
Again, hello.
How's it going? Yeah.
All righty. So let me adjust the ticker here. If you look here at the bottom in the scrolling ticker, that is how you can get in touch with Mr. Andy Gray. Don't do that now. Just note it. I want you to stay here with us on the stream because you can check out all the goodness that's posted there on Andy's pages. And you're gonna want to you're gonna want to follow him. Heck, you're gonna want to throw commissions towards him because when you see his art, it's just gonna floor you. You're just gonna love it. You're just gonna love it. So, without further ado,
no pressure there, Andy from Gerald.
I think I just put you on. I put you on the tallest stool that there is for you to like.
And the only thing you can do from there is fall off it and hurt your leg.
Oh, no.
Thank you, Gerald.
No, he can sprout wings and he can go even higher.
It's falling with grace. That's what we do here.
He's from Alabama. They don't have wings there.
What do you mean? Everybody
we get Red Bull. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it gives you wings. Yes. And okay, so this is the part of the show we're going to go into, which is called the elevator pitch, which is where I hand the mic over to our guest, which is Andy here, and basically he gets to just toot his horn. He can pretty much tell anything and everything about where. Oh, there you go. The kazoo was ready to go. Where you can basically just tell us a little bit about yourself. What makes you tick, because that's what I said in there. What is the creative drive behind Andy? And while he does that, I'm going to show some of his artwork. And like I said, you're going to be just floored by what you see. It'll just scroll by, but Andy can tell me to stop. We can revisit it. I can zoom in. It's just really, really, really good. So that being said, the mic has been officially passed to you, Mr. Andy. And let me get your PDF of all your artwork ready to go. So go ahead.
Sweet. Thanks for having me on. Thanks everybody that's checking this out. This is going to be fun. My name's Andy. I am a storyboard artist by day, and sad and broken at night. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. I like making art. I always have. I got my start at the tender age of whatever age it is, you start getting in trouble for not listening to people. And they thought the solution in the infinite wisdom of adults would be to give me a piece of paper and a pencil or a crayon and be like, hey, draw us a picture. Little did they know, they done goofed because I never stopped. So that's kind of how I got here. And like the first piece right there, the aliens one, like this was a commission from a friend of mine that I have known since I was like a little kid. Just the way nerd circles go, right? Like my buddy and his wife, they do cosplay and stuff. So these are their original cosplays that they wanted fighting off the aliens and everything. So like, I guess because I've been doing it so long, I know people, and they let me do cool stuff like this.
Well, yeah. Oh, go ahead, Rick.
I'm a huge Predator fan and a huge Alien fan, so I'm loving this so much.
Yeah.
Really, to the bone. Shut up, Gerald. I'm not done. This is just amazing. Gerald, will you stop?
Okay, I'm stopped. My lip for
I'm done now. Go on.
Okay, here we go. All right. Not only is this a great Predator Alien piece, what really struck me, and this is the reason why we used it in the event reminder promo banner, is that it's the colors. Rick, look at the colors. These aren't really colors that I think you would associate normally, especially if you remember the Alien versus Predator movies. They were just crazy dark. It was so dark you couldn't even see sometimes what was going on. It was so dark. It gives you the vibe that it's an alien landscape, and the colors just allow the characters to pop. And this is what
it's different, and it's brave, but it also helps sell it as a commission more because there's more to see. Yes. It's easier to see the action.
Yes, and that's what we're going to see here. Is that what is it? Andy says that he's not a good colorist. That he's self-deprecating. He pretty much says he doesn't really know color theory, and I want to go, wow, you definitely know color theory. You definitely know composition. And your line work is just phenomenal. So let's keep on going down here. I want to show more of this artwork. I remember you mentioned this got a really good vibe on. Got a lot of good response on social media. You want to talk a little bit about this one?
Yeah, this is so you know how when we talked yesterday, we were talking about how like it's that last thing where you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna do this real quick that people seem to love. Like you put hours and hours into a piece, and then people are like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then the thing you spent like 30 minutes on, they're like, oh yes, this is the one, right? So this was my warm up. This was something I did probably in like 30 or 45 minutes. Like, yeah, and I'm still mad about that because I want to be able to do it like this, but because I wasn't thinking about it, like it just rolled, right? So like this is me practicing that thing where it's like there's no line work here. It was all just, I started off with the big blocks of color and just kind of whittled it down.
Let's save that technique a little bit later on. I want to build that narrative here, but I want to show this because that's another thing for our guests that are watching. We're gonna get an inside look to the new techniques that Andy is trying to incorporate into his style, which he's doing with complete success. Because he's going to describe the process that he used for this composition a little later on. But let's just keep on rolling. Save that. We want to talk about that. Yeah. So here
those are also some of my favorite characters. And that's another reason it did well because they're really popular anime characters.
Right. Do what you love. Do what you love.
Yeah.
So here we go. Just vapor. Nothing to see here.
This was another commission piece for a guy who this is part of his work. What he does, like he goes to schools and he talks about different stuff. So. Part of the work, and it was fun to do.
Oh, so here we go. Who is?
And this was same client.
I can tell. I see the face.
Yes, I think that's the cool thing is that look at these. These are commissions that he's getting, but he breathes like this. Not only his unique style, but these are our clients, but he brings a comic style to it. So we're gonna keep on seeing some of these really interesting clients that he get here. So here it's like. Anti-vaping here, but then we keep on going. These are some storyboards. He mentioned that you said that you are in the graphic design marketing arena as well. That's your day job. Is that what?
Yeah, I work for an advertising agency.
Agency, right?
Yeah, doing storyboards. They don't let me. Like I was telling you, they don't let me near the graphic design because there are people who are way better at that than I do. But if they want pictures drawn, they're like, hey. Draw this thing for us. So
I think you're selling yourself graphic design in here, definitely. But these are storyboards, and you can see that from these storyboards. Andy definitely sees things from a very cinematic motion picture standpoint. And when you look at this, I guess that's the reason why when I look at his art, it's epic in that respect because it definitely has that cinematic look to it. But you can see that he thinks in sequentials, not in the sequential. Storytelling of comics, which he does, but in this case, it's more of a storyboard. Rick, are you seeing this? I mean, these are just grayscale, just what I would say that he probably thinks this is quick, but they're so insanely detailed.
Yeah, I am actually. That's what I'm doing on this show. I'm looking at the art, Joe. So you're right. Yes, I'm seeing this.
So yeah, these are a bit more. So like when it comes to advertising, it's a bit different than it is for like movies and animated stuff because they're kind of different uses for storyboards. So this isn't the kind of board that people would hand to like a director or a DP and shoot off of necessarily.
Right.
We use these. These are closer to pitch boards, so they're way more detailed than a normal storyboard probably would be because these are taken to a client to be like, this is why we want your money because we want to be able to shoot this scene and do this thing and do this thing. So they have to be a bit more detailed than like movie boards would be.
Yeah, and I think that's almost like they've given you tremendous power. They've given you the power of Thanos here to you pretty much can shape the scene. You can pretty much pick an angle and just set the tone for the whole pitch by doing these really detailed shots. So I think the director is going to have to be influenced, just subconsciously, at least on a subconscious level, because this is something that you sold to the client. So I think this is really, really cool. I come from an advertising marketing background too, so I definitely appreciate this. As we keep on going here, let's talk about this one. This one has an interesting horror vibe, I think, to it. Is that like a Frankenstein or?
Yeah. So this, I want to think, if I remember right, the concept behind this was how it can be like a monster to hire people. So I think this was for a hiring spot. So the process for finding good help is just monstrous, and that they played into it, and they're like, "Yeah, man, go ham!" We want it to look wild, and And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. All right, well, I get to make a zombie, and this is gonna be fun."
Yeah, I remember back in was it the late '90s, going into the early 2000s, there was Monster.com, which was a recruiting agency. Was this for that or?
No, it was. This was for a different thing. I think this was for more of an internal project. This was actually more of a how to reach the people you're trying to hire. So that's what they were selling.
It's still very cool. I
mean, if you look, you can see the actual company's name right there on the sixth.
Oh. But you know what, Rick? You're right. I'm getting old. I can't see. I'm just going blind. But yes, it is at monster.com. I'm sorry. I'm going to go hang my head in shame. Let's just keep on going. Let's go to the next slide. So here we go. We have yet another storyboard or sequence here.
This is one of my favorite ones that they've let me do. This was for a pizza joint, and it's literally the gods ordering pizza, and they let me go full nerd because Zeus. Like they were all like, oh yeah, we're gonna order pizza. And Zeus is like, yeah, cool, I'll do the ordering. And it's supposed to be about how fast it is. So like he orders, hangs up the phone, ding dong. Hera's like, oh cool, I'll go get the pizza. He brings it in, and of course Poseidon's sitting there, and Zeus is always like messing with Poseidon. And Poseidon's like, dude, there's anchovies on here. And Zeus is like, food of the gods, yes.
I was like, that is such a great concept. In fact, I was looking like behind the throne, like when they were talking about the the delivery. I almost wanted to see like Hermes or Apollo or somebody in the background like chuckling. It's like, I don't know what, that would have been kind of neat that he was part of like, or maybe it's even faster. They deliver even faster than Hermes, or Apollo. But yes, this just goes to show the funness that, I just like how you can integrate this comic style and these storyboards and still really communicate. And we're even going to get even just funnier and cooler with this stuff. So let's keep on going. Let's see some more of these storyboards. What do we have here?
So this was less of like the fun tell a story. So sometimes like for advertising, just kind of like with everything else, you're telling a story, but sometimes it's not necessarily as narrative as it is emotional. Like you're trying to hit feelings in people. And that was kind of a challenge for this because this place really wanted to show off how cool their interior and exterior was, right. But it was more about coming here to relax and coming here to unwind. So trying to capture that feeling as much as like, as opposed to like, oh, pizza good. It's more like, hey, you're going to come here. You're going to be able to relax. You're going to be able to enjoy yourself. Like there's unique things. If you like if you like craft booze, if you just want to chill out, like that's what you get to do here.
Yeah.
I really.
Oh, we're going to need a buzzer to Rick, go ahead.
I'll just mute myself because the other wants to talk all the time.
Go, Rick.
I really like what I'm seeing here, and I like the storyboarding as well. I'm normally into doing for movies, so I see the personal difference. We got a question earlier about the difference, but I'll go more into that when we're doing the drawing. I think that's a suitable question to take there. But I see the difference, and I like what I'm seeing. It's you. Is it you that decided you had to go so much in detail, or is that asked for? For
this particular client, this was as much. This was actually as much for like the DP and the people who would be shooting to be on the exact same page because the client was very specific about wanting to show off certain areas of the space. So they didn't exactly request it, but it was necessary for what it was because they were very space oriented. So being more detailed with it was just kind of what the brief called for.
Well, I'm going to say from here, like, even though this is a storyboard for a particular, client who obviously has this nice eating establishment and social hangout, I was looking at this from just if you were to incorporate this into sequential storytelling, this is something that these are backgrounds. These are stages that are set up for like panels. You could see like, not all comic books are all about like fighting, big epic, fight scenes. There are narrative points where they go to a restaurant, they're outdoors, it's just neat that I could actually see these being establishing shots for the everyday life before there's a superhero beatdown or maybe an alien invasion. This is like normal life, and you can see all the perspective, the depth, the foreshortening. You can see architecture. I guess you did get some stills, obviously, of the establishment, but you're framing the shots. You're figuring out how things are going to be portrayed, I mean, I like this kind of like overhead view too. I mean, these are I could definitely see how this is good practice. This is good ways that would translate to your actual artwork that goes beyond your day job. I guess, did you find that out? Was that something that's like, hey, you know?
Yeah, I actually had to kind of come up with new ways of making this stuff work because I'm not an architectural guy. So that kind of stuff is really challenging for me. So some of the techniques that I'm trying to learn to make my figures and all that stuff move faster, I was actually able to apply to like physically building out the space in this. So yeah, I definitely learned a lot doing these as far as like some new ways to move a bit faster and not be quite as frustrated. Like, so like when you get this stuff in here, like you've got those like layered, like symmetrical things that you get when you enter a bridge or when you enter a structure like that. So figuring out some ways to kind of cheat that with layers and that kind of stuff makes it a lot easier, as opposed to like, okay, I've got to make this line and this line and this line and this line. Like anytime I can avoid doing that and keep my sanity, I do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at now that I see some of these, these are graphic design elements and how you've incorporated them in the shot and how you just tell. I mean, even the depth, you create that almost atmospheric depth, with things being much darker and clearer and more detailed here. And this is just a storyboard illustration. But, really, I don't even think the director and the client would have any doubt, by this. So if you had a superhero that happened to be going across a bridge and wanting to take a swig of this particular alcohol, this is how you would sell it. So let's keep on going here. I want to show this because this is where we go back to like some really fun stuff here. Okay, so I'm just going to let you tell the story. What exactly is this one about? Because I saw like DC there's a king shark or something like that, but then it's not. So go ahead and talk about this.
Yeah, so this is actually for a fully animated spot. So these are the storyboards for this was an animated thing. It's the reason they're colors, because these were final artwork that was used in the animation and everything.
Right.
And this is for the Texas legal sharks, and that's what they build themselves as. That's that's the website. And so we the writer came up with kind of the story beats that they wanted to hit and everything, and they passed it off to me, and I got to make up this cool stuff. I got to put a shark in a suit, man, and they paid me to do it.
Legal shark. Nice words here.
Oh, it was great. This was fun to work on. Yeah,
these are like projects that I would love to do. It's like, WandaVision. I don't know if it's WandaVision, but recently, I did a rehash. I rewatched some of the episodes yesterday, and it was so neat to see in WandaVision those Hydra ads or those or
the Stark ads and that stuff.
Yes, exactly. Just really fun stuff here, and I'm seeing that same kind of just really fun stuff that you're doing here. With the legal sharks. Just really
I like that one.
I mean, this is like that Shark Week thing. It's like, what is the bite force of a great white shark? Well, here you go. It can take down an insurance agency's or insurance company's logo with one bite.
Yes,
just really cool. And then this is when I looked at it. Then I saw this legal thing, and I go, oh. He's not just like King Shark in its suit. He's actually from a legal firm here.
And he's a lawyer. He's not a king, Gerald.
Exactly. So like just some really cool stuff. But you know what? It doesn't stop there. There's even more goodness here. So here we go. All right. So I looked at this and I thought these were like concepts for like maybe like one of Andy's new superhero like IPs that he's going to debut. But no, it's not. It's for a client. You want to talk a little bit about this too, about this process and
Yeah, man. So one of the things that I really love doing, and I really love to be doing more of, but I also feel like I need to get a lot better at it to be doing it at the level I want to be doing it at. But I love character design. Like I love thinking about what is this character doing, who are they, and how can I tell that visually? That's really fun to me, and it's really challenging and interesting. This is for another legal client that I worked with who wanted to do some like static banner ads and stuff like that, and they wanted a superhero in it. So I got to talk with them about what they wanted and design it. And this is kind of my preferred way of doing character design like this, where on the right side, so you can go through and do a lot of extra work for projects like this. So what I decided to do was, because I knew that they wanted, and you being an advertiser, that like banner ads are a certain size and certain shape, and then you've got like your tower ads and all that stuff. So I wanted to come up with a few poses that whatever the end design would be would fit within those parameters, so that they could choose a couple of those poses. And so that part's done. So like I know what the pose is going to be,
Right.
and then I just have to figure out what the costume design is, and I can put it in the poses. And that was it. And one of the ways I like to do this is I start with exactly what I see when they give me the brief. Like when they tell me what the character is, I draw exactly that. And then I try and move away from that and incorporate different elements. So when they told me like this is going to be like, hardcore, like American, think eagle, think that kind of stuff, I was like, all right, here's your American Eagle, man. Here we go. And I was like, okay, so how do I push that further? And so then I go into, okay, let's take away, some elements and let's try some different shapes. So that the cape shape on the first one was kind of rounded. So I was like, well, let's make this one more tangular.
Yeah.
And give him some pauldrons, maybe a face mask. And then I just kept kind of iterating. I was like, all right, so now what if he's like a Zentai? Like, what if he's like one of the Power Rangers? Let's throw him like that kind of gear, right?
Yes.
Did you say senpai?
Zentai, I think is what they call him.
Yes, Zentai.
Yeah.
Rick was thinking Shomai. He was thinking, lunch.
So I'm curious to know which one is your favorite and which one get chosen, because it wasn't probably your favorite that got chosen, was it?
Oh, it's a good story. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I didn't really have a favorite out of these. I had pieces that I really liked out of all of them. And thankfully, that's kind of what the client thought too, is they were like, okay, so I like the mask and being able to see the face on number 2, but I really like the way the cape works on number 5. And I like the color scheme of number 1, but maybe we changed the chest emblem. And that's actually what ended up happening for the final version. So the colors were completely different, but it was a mishmash of all these elements. And instead of having to like draw one and say, what do you think? And they'd be like, well, maybe we want something different. I gave them 6 options and they pulled pieces from it and I put that together. And it really saves a lot of time, in my opinion. So that,
that's normally that would be like a graphic designer's nightmare. We would hate to have to hey, here's a brochure A through, through G. And what would you like us to do? Well, we'd like a little bit of B. We'd like maybe a little bit of D. And by the way, can you throw in Z? And then I was like, there's no Z. We didn't even give you a Z design. It's like, this right here, the fact this was for, I thought this was like a conceptual thing for one of your projects, but it's for a client, a real world, client project. And what you've done is you've come up with these concepts, which, could be for one of your own superheroes, but you've made it so it's versatile enough that you could mix and match things. And I had like this flashback to like when we were little kids, we had this, those like monster creators or like little, there was also a fashion creator. I'm going to say there was a fashion creator. Yeah, I know that.
You mean Barbie dolls? You played with Barbie dolls is what you're saying, Carol?
I'm not going to, I had sisters. They had Barbie dolls, but I had the
right. Sisters, yeah.
Let's stay on the subject, stay on target. But it was like these little templates where there was like a head, a torso, a waist, and like a lower body, and you could mix and match different superhero costumes, and then you could put a piece of paper and it would give you like a little etching rub, graphite or colored pencil, and then you would create these monsters or these superheroes or fashionista type things. But anyway, you could definitely do those type of things. And when I was looking at that, that's what it reminded me of. And you're doing kids when we were growing up, that's what we did. And you're doing it on a professional level, doing these for clients where you can mix and match things. I just ate that up. I mean, you can really just take all of those things, distill it, take what, give something the client wants, add a little bit of your own stuff, put that Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, type things into it and just sell it. And if they don't buy any of those designs, you got your instant mix and match superhero baddie or hero that you can appear in any of your comics. So brilliant.
I like how the number 5. That was the first one I saw, and I immediately thought Uncle Sam is in an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah,
That is so yes, Assassin's Creed. Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Uncle Sam.
Yes. All right, Andy, go run with it. Rick hasn't copyrighted it. You can definitely just run away with it.
Oh, I'm copywriting right now.
He's on the American copyright,
Yeah.
like typing.
hey, I'm all up for a 50-50 split on that. You just let me know. We got the design, you got the name.
Ooh.
Let's make it work.
Okay.
1090 and we'll talk.
All
Okay.
right. I'm down, man.
So you heard it first. Rick and Andy are collaborating. Look for their hit Assassin. Well, you know what? You're gonna have to talk to. Is it EA or is it Ubi? I forgot who owns Assassin.
No, we just call it Assassin Sam.
Oh, Assassin Sam.
Oh, see, I was thinking Uncle Creed, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
That could be his sidekick. You can have a sidekick. But yeah, look at this. This is creative, indie creative in action. We have Rick and Andy coming up with a new IP right here on Comics Cast. Let it out. Let's just keep on rolling here. So I saw this piece and it looks so familiar to me, and I know why, because I followed this particular artist who came up with this particular original character. You want to talk a little bit about this, Andy?
Yeah, so this is one of my friends. She's part of like the local artist community. Her name's Elise, and she is the definition of a badass and makes really awesome stuff. Tells really cool stories and has her own comic called Night and Day. And this is one of the characters in that comic. And like out of spite, she just threw this up there and she was like, "Hey, do this in your style." And I was like, "All right, challenge accepted," because I like nice things.
Uh-huh.
So I did this piece based on some of her characters.
Yeah, and it's really cool because I just started following her, and this is just a little bit of foreshadowing in terms of what we're going to talk about. She's actually part of this up-and-coming project, which is under Brian Silverback's Kerra Prime thing, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But this is her individual, her own character, and I actually featured. You actually did more than one art piece with her, and this is another piece. And I use this on our Comics Cast Facebook banner because it just had such really, really cool colors. I mean, aside from the attitude and the really cool poses, because you can only see. I only featured the upper part of this, which is their heads, but you can just see the way they're backed up against each other. You can see the way their arms are. It's kind of like a yin yang. You see some toughness. You see some femininity. The colors just hit you in the face. But I just love it. I mean, did she direct you to do this, or is this another one of the things where she threw down the gauntlet and you said go do this in your style, and you came up with this?
I don't remember if we specifically talked about what the image was going to be. I think she just said, "Hey, do you want to do like an alternate cover for like a variant cover for the book based on the characters?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." like these characters are so cool. All of that nuance that you see in those characters is something that she puts in them. So
yes.
Like I feel like I have done like not a great job capturing the way these characters are compared to how they are in her story, because she puts so much emotion, so much character, like the poses and the relationship of the two characters together. Like that's all her. This is me aping that and trying to put some lights on it. Like that's what it feels like because she's so good at it. So I really encourage everybody to check out what she's doing because it's great.
Yeah. It's just phenomenal work. And, I've seen her character designs and they are phenomenal. But I think this is a good thing about showing your versatility as an artist is that, you can put your take on it. You can put your spin on their characters, but still remain faithful and true to the original characters, the creator of the character's design. So, we're seeing, this in action. It still fits in, the inspirational category where you can say, hey, I'm influenced by, like what she's done, but, you can put your own stamp on it too. And I love, the colors just hit, like I said, they're really very striking. And I think that's one of the things that I've looked at some of your artwork here is that colors are a big deal. You really make it sing. And here, this is something that I thought was pretty hilarious too. Now, I thought at first it was like, oh, this is another like superhero thing. But then I noticed the weights in the background, and then I noticed this graffiti in here. So you want to talk a little bit about this one?
Yeah, so this was a commission that a guy I know, he's a personal trainer, has a gym and everything, and he wanted this piece done. He got in touch with me about it, and it was actually really cool to be able to, like, I used to have a small business myself, like I used to own a game store and everything. So like other people who are in that situation, trying to run like a public facing small business, like I like working with them because I know what that struggle is. So getting, to see cool stuff and see the work pay off is really great. Now I cannot take any credit for the background. That was a graffiti artist who knows what they were doing. That part is scumbaggery on my part of being like, oh, this is your gym, this is your logo. Here you go. Thanks for providing the logo.
Yeah,
let me drop this in here.
Well, I was going to say that, if we talked about this as, from a graphic design, somebody who appreciates that as like, did you do this logo? Did you use street art? I mean, I was like thinking.
No, you just stole it.
Hey, you know what? It's just like a logo putting it on any type of other commissioned artwork or a logo that's on a comic book cover. It's very similar. Not stealing it. It's the official logo of the gym here.
I know. Jeez, Gerald.
I'm just trying to clarify here. It's not stolen. This is a commissioned piece of
artwork. It's only stolen if you get caught.
Or if you get commissioned. So here we go. So we look at this, and I also look at this pose here. Andy, were you a fan of Bart Sears? Are you familiar with Bart Sears?
That name's really familiar.
Did you ever read Wizard magazine back in the day?
God, yes. I fiended on Wizard.
Yeah, there was a section, the how to draw section.
Yes.
Bart Sears was always one of the guys that was in there. He did some Justice League, I think back in the 80s, and he always did these really hyper muscular characters. And when I looked at this, and I just thought of Bart Sears, but you didn't follow him. But I'm just saying that, he's a pro. You're a pro. Just really, really just cool. That I just thought of this, and it's like, this is, it just brought me back, to the 90s, reading Wizard magazine and trying to learn how to draw from these tutorials. So I'm putting you in that same category. I'm going to put, this artwork in my archive of Wizard magazines and go, when I want to learn how to draw anatomy like this is where I'm going to go. I'm going to talk to Andy. So Rick,
I like the anatomy in this one. It actually reminds me of a Canadian friend I have. He looks exactly like my Canadian friend Ed Foychuk.
That is true.
He's also an artist, and he's also a very big guy. And I thought at first it was him.
Yeah.
Nice.
That is so true. Ed's a good friend and a phenomenal artist. He's kind of like the anatomy expert on another Facebook group, How to Draw Comics. And we're going to have to get Ed to look at this and, just sort of say, he could say, yeah, I think it was modeled after me. I think Ed would say that. But hey, let's keep on going here because there's so much more good art here. And I don't know, Rick, are you a fan of Cthulhu? Are you a Cthulhu?
All hail, Lord and our Lord and Savior Cthulhu. All hail.
So he knows Cthulhu. I'm kind of sort of a little. I read. Every now and then I'll look up some Lovecraft stuff. But when I first saw this, I was thinking. At first glance it was like Swamp Thing with Cthulhu.
Yeah.
I thought that, and then when I heard the story behind this particular composition, it made me go, "Wow, it's even better than what I thought."
Wait. We have to censor the finger. That's not PG.
Oh, that's another thing. I didn't realize that was what he was doing. I thought he was just pointing we are so badass. But
yeah, he is pointing, Joe. He is pointing.
He's not. You don't see the other finger Anyway, Andy,
yes, you do. Yes, you do.
No, you don't. You don't see it. You know why you don't see it? Because the magic of Zoom.
Yeah, zoom in on the finger. Yeah, that's smart.
No finger there. But anyway, Andy, tell us a little bit about this. I know you're a fan of Cthulhu. You heard about these individual characters and you did your own interpretation. So let's talk about this thing. Tell us more about it.
Okay, yeah. So I had one of those days. A
Cthulhu day.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, one of those. I would end the world today.
Who does? Who doesn't?
Okay.
So I am still, even today, in awe at the fact that in my pocket I have access to the sum total of human knowledge. At any given point, And I'm not talking about that thing from the pre-show. I'm talking about my phone.
No, I was waiting for Rick.
I was so close.
I have the power of the world in my pocket. Go ahead.
But yeah, so like I have this habit of something I've tried to get into is anytime I say I wonder if, right?
Yes.
I immediately pull out my phone. Now that's dangerous because I go down rabbit holes real fast, and then like I come out like 3 or 4 hours later, and I'm like, oh well, I have just wasted the whole day. That's fantastic.
Keep on talking.
But on this one, so what happened was I was watching YouTube, and I think like it was like a Smosh Games or something, and they were playing. I think it's Call of Cthulhu. It's a board game, and I was like, you know what? I don't know a whole lot about the Cthulhu stuff, and I know it's like I just want to know more. So like I dove in on Wiki, and I was like, okay, Cthulhu, and then it's like Cthulhu is one of the old gods and has siblings, and I was like, wait, this dude's got siblings, and then it starts talking about the siblings, and I'm like, my character design brain is like, you know, what would be cool? What if they had avatars that they took over in the present day, and they wreaked havoc on the world, but not as the old gods, as like, what if? And the reason the Cthulhu-looking character doesn't have a shirt on is because I imagined him as some hillbilly dude who got taken over by Cthulhu. Because like the Cthulhu stuff happened in like Mississippi or Louisiana or something, right?
He was taking over while in the shower.
Yeah, I just imagine him as like some hillbilly dude that doesn't wear a shirt. He's got like blue jeans and he doesn't wear shoes, and he just wanders around like raising hell.
Duck Dynasty Cthulhu.
Yes, yeah. So then you've got like one of the descriptions was like one of the dark old ones is like pure black, but like with a single eye or something. So I was like, all right, this dude's a mummy. And one of them is the bright one. He is like the sun. So I was like, well, this is going to be a dapper fellow. And he's going to have a fun, creepy mask.
So he's from Los Angeles, surely.
Yes, 100% from LA.
All the devil people are from LA. We know this.
Yep. And then he had a sister, and the sister, as far as I'm concerned, she's a fashionista from New York. That's just how that's going to work, right?
Yeah.
So she's got to have a scarf on, and yeah, that's all this was like a weird trip down a rabbit hole.
Isn't that yeah, amazing. Go ahead, Rick.
I love the best way you could interpret that they were wreaking havoc, and everybody was Cthulhu flipping people off.
It's just some redneck dude, and like when Cthulhu speaks, it's like, "Oh, I'm Cthulhu," but imagine it with like, "Oh, I'm Cthulhu," and he's just walking around flipping people off like, "I'm Cthulhu, get out my way, boy!
Get out my way, boy!"
I just had this thought. It's like Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
I'm freaking Mary Poppins.
Get the goddamns! Get the goddamns!
This is what I want to show to our audience here. Is like, this is how Andy's mind works. This is his creative drive. This is what he does. Is he like gets it in his head about when everybody has a Cthulhu day. I can see that's like a Snickers commercial. It's like Cthulhu day. Eat Snickers and you won't you can get out of your Cthulhu. You get rid of your inner Cthulhu. But I was looking at this and I say this is what goes into his head. He reads about Cthulhu and he harnesses the power of the internet in his
who doesn't
in his pocket, from his pocket, and then from there he does this. And you know what? When you think of Cthulhu too, I think of these really like dark palettes, and it looks like the end of the world and fire and brimstone and type stuff. And then you do like these kind of like pastel-y colors with like purples and greens, and I don't know if the little kid in me like thinks, oh, these are so pretty and so really cool, but then it's Cthulhu, it's and I really like look at these the skin textures you put in here. I don't ever want to hear you say you don't know color theory, you don't know how to put colors together, because that's what's so appealing about this. Aside from
he got a cheat sheet.
He got a cheat sheet. He harnessed the power of the color palettes on the internet. I don't know.
yes, he did.
Google is his colorist.
so funny.
Google,
Yeah.
what color is Cthulhu?
What
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's like Google. What color is Cthulhu? That could be a website. What color is Cthulhu? But yes, here that was one rabbit hole. Let's go down yet another rabbit hole here with stuff that he has. This, Rick, you're gonna love this, Rick, because being a big kazoo fan and he's just an appreciator of just really fine music. This is Andy is. Not only has clients that are from Texas, lawyers from Texas and Tennessee and things like that, he has clients internationally. So this is I'm going to write my notes here. It's a new wave British metal band that comes out of from London or from.
What's it called?
Soldier. The name of the band is Soldier.
Talk about it, Andy. Tell us about this.
I think I've heard of them.
Yeah, I mean they're really cool. Like they've been around for a long time. Like they've been doing the Lord's work as far as I'm concerned. Anybody who's playing metal 20 plus years, like
I love you, Andy.
like these guys, and this is the third cover that I've gotten to do for their albums and stuff, in like a series featuring this character, the Soldier. And yeah, man, this has been. I think I've been working with these guys for like 10 years or so now.
Amazing.
And like this was really fun as far as stuff like that really pushes. Like again, I don't think of myself as like a background or an environment guy. So trying to mesh all the elements in here that were in the brief, and they had some very specific stuff, like what was in the case, how the main figure looked, like coming up out of hell and stuff, and having people run away from it being on the street. Like this was one of those like more detailed briefs that was a challenge, but it was a really fun challenge because I got to draw the devil.
I thought that was Tiaro.
Yeah, I can see the resemblance, right? yeah, totally. But I was just, again, this is just Andy being very humble. He goes, I'm not really good at like environments. I'm not really good at color, whatever. But this is an album cover for a new wave metal band. Just really cool. When you told me this was for a music album cover, I was like, I remember all the great art from like Iron Maiden.
Oh man!
And I just, it fits in that whole, just. It fits in that genre, and I actually gonna have to look up this this band because I've worn out my copy of Rick's Kazoo Greatest Hits. So I need to.
I still need payment for that. That wasn't free, Gerald.
Yeah, I think it's on the slow boat to Denmark. You should be expecting it probably in the next maybe month, maybe the pandemic.
Probably in the next, maybe never. Okay, fine.
I didn't say that. You said it.
around the time of never. But yeah, I just.
The deal was I promote your kazoo album on this show, and that's your payment. So that's.
I was drunk that day. Anyways, and I just looked up Soldier, and I actually heard of them. I actually also liked them.
Uh-huh.
I also like it has that old school cover. Yeah, I'm just taking over for now. Yeah, I'll live with it.
Go for it.
What it reminded me more of was actually the covers from the cartoon covers from like the Disturbed covers.
Yeah.
10,000 Fists and all that. A little more than that than Iron Maiden, in my opinion.
Uh-huh.
And also a little Korn issues.
Ooh.
As an example.
Yes.
All stuff I grew up with loving, by the way.
I have that feeling from it more. I agree that Iron Maiden also did their paintings, but that was a little more. This is more cartoony and fun looking in the metal ways. I'm a fan.
Oh, thanks.
Where can I get the album?
I
okay, thank you.
On their website, yeah.
Okay.
Soldier's website.
But if you want a signed copy, you're gonna have to talk to Andy so he can sign it for you and then send it to Denmark with my check for your kazoo.
I want the signing from the band, though.
Oh,
I'm sure they will. They're awesome guys, man. You tell them you want them to sign something, they'll probably sign it.
All right. Well, Andy will hook you up, and I think that was just Rick's opportunity to totally school me in the art of metal album
I try. Whenever I got a chance to school Gerald, whenever I have a chance to school Gerald, I have to.
He's like kicking me down and I'm falling. You know, he's basically giving me an opportunity.
Just kicking you all the way down.
Me on the way down. So
I'm not stopping when he's down either.
He's like,
well, kicking a man when he's down is the easiest time to do it.
Exactly. And I'm lazy. I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna wait until you're down.
Hey, Andy, this is what happens to me every week. And you know, if we were in the room together, I'd be on the ground, and Rick would still he'd be in his comfortable seat drinking and be like kicking me, like stay down there. But I just, you know, I will have to defer to Rick's supreme knowledge on metal bands. Disturbed, Korn. Yes, it's more in that than the Iron Maiden. I will bow down to your superior. But this is about Andy.
He's used to that.
Okay, let's keep on. Let's stay on target. Here we have another piece here. Now, I looked at this too. Crazy colors. This is another commission piece for. I'll let you talk about it because there's so many fun Easter eggs that you worked into this one. Because at first I thought it's Boba Fett and Dazzler with the Lockjaw from the Inhumans. But
it's Puck, yo.
Yes.
Get it?
So,
yeah.
Andy, tell us a little bit about this commission piece because it's brilliant. All the little things you snuck in there.
This was kind of this is one of my favorite things to do is when people are like, hey, so, you know, I think this was a gift, like an anniversary gift from mine, like for significant other and everything. And this is one of those things where they're like, okay, here's a picture of us. He likes this stuff. I like this stuff. And this is our dog. And they're like, what can you do with that? And I was like, yeah, give me a minute. This is going to be fun, right? You tell me the dude likes Boba Fett and he likes to cook. And that's like like character design 101. Like he's getting tongs and he's getting the cookie symbol on his pauldron.
Oh yeah, look at that, Rick.
Yeah. I also saw the logo on the chest there.
Yes.
Yep.
Really cool stuff.
And then like for her, she's a huge Bowie fan, huge Bowie fan. So I was
of
like,
course,
okay.
face paint.
So I'm like, what's the coolest Bowie outfit I can find? That's like the most outlandish. And so I love the Ziggy Stardust aesthetic, like all of that costuming and all of the promotional material around all of that. It was so cool. And then like the cutest dog ever. And so instantly I was like, Cosmic Pug. That's just how this is going to work out. The all-knowing, all-seeing pug who knows where every scrap is. And that's
so cool.
And his snoring is the loudest ever.
Oh, yeah.
His snoring can destroy worlds.
Birth stars destroy worlds? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw that. He was cosmic. He's like on another level. He's like he's like one of those Jack Kirby man, I can't think of it. What are the celestial? He's a celestial pug.
Yeah.
So, but here I zoomed in here. I wanted to
we also getting new people in. Apparently, a lot of guys forgot that we started an hour earlier because let me just mention it again. Gerald forgot to tell everybody. Gerald forgot to tell everybody.
No! Don't throw that out there. I put it on our Facebook page. I said, attention. Daylight savings time is coming, and you have to know that this show is going to be an hour earlier, but it's okay. I see lots of people coming in here, and these comments are being lit up, and that's what we want to see because we were coming up almost on the live drawing part of it. But I really wanted to tell Rick. Rick, Andy sent me so much good art. I was like, I want to show everything and tell the story about all of them.
Well, we can't do that, sadly. We only have another hour and a half to do it.
Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna blaze through some of this other stuff because we want to start.
And also, I'm sure the rest of this can be found online if you go to the pages down below. So that gives you the commentators. Go down, look at all this great art on the. Can you stop when I'm talking?
Okay, go, Rick. Finish your sentence.
I'm trying to hype you up here, Andy, and then Gerald comes in. Go to andygrayart.com after the show and see all this amazing work. You will not regret it.
But
now back to Gerald.
That is so true. But see, part of this whole show is we really want to give the insight. You know, you can go check it out. You can see
But
you don't know the meaning behind it. And that's what
yeah, we don't got time for that. Sorry.
we do have time. I'm going to go through real fast though. So here we go. This. Oops. Okay, there we go. These are like another example of just Andy doing some really crazy character design for. I mean, these are original characters. There is a story behind it. I won't go into detail, but I want to start talking a little bit about technique, because that's another thing about it. Let It Out is that we want to talk about techniques. And, you know, you can see at the bottom here, this is done. You can see like some really traditional lines that are in there. But as you look here, it gets more painterly. And I think that this is what Andy's new style and technique that he's going into. And we're going to get to see a little bit of that today during the live drawing. So, Andy, you want to talk a little bit about that before we get into the live drawing, because Rick is really right now. So
yeah. So like pretty much everybody else, from at least from our age bracket, who ever thought about getting into comics, right? Like from the wizard stuff and from the like the behind the scenes stuff that we used to get, there's a specific process to drawing comics. It's pencils, inks, colors, and then letters, right? Like that's the comic book process. It's what it's been since the beginning. And it's cool, and that's how I learned to do it, but it's also very time consuming. There's a reason that on a comic book, generally there was like a penciler, an inker, and a colorist. You didn't expect someone to do all three back in the day because it was meant to be an assembly line thing. It's faster and all that stuff. And the more I looked into it, the more I thought about it, it's like, well, why did we need to ink the lines? It's because back in the day, it wouldn't show up for print, right? Like, like your pencils weren't going to show up on the manual presses and all that stuff. So like they had to do that. And then the colors were based around the specific Pantone colors that the printer had available. So it's like you pick from these Pantones to put into your colors and all that stuff. And we don't have those limitations today. And the more I've thought about that over the years, the more I've been like, well, there's got to be a faster way to do this, because I see people who are incredibly fast, who have wonderful artwork. They cannot be spending the time essentially drawing this thing 3 times to get it done, like drawing the pencils, doing the ink work, and then doing the coloring work. Like I'm sure there are some people who are really fast at that, but to me, that's a time-consuming process. Mm-hmm. And I've been looking for like, how can I skip some of those steps? How can I still make good stuff and it still be fun without killing myself rehashing the same piece of artwork over and over and over again like that? And so that's like, I've been studying a dude, his name's Stefan Sajic. He big name, artist and everything. And he uses Photoshop to its like logical end for this kind of work. So he's not necessarily trying to take the analog pencil, ink, colors and replicate that in the program. He was like, well, we don't need to do that. Like, we don't have to do that. There are other ways. And so that's what I've been studying for the last couple of years, trying to apply to my work. And it's finally starting to work. And it's not just me like banging my head against the desk, like, why won't it work? It's starting to come out. So that's kind of where I am right now.
Yeah. So basically it's like, you don't do the traditional line work first. You actually start out with like a base color. And it's kind of like we were talking like, Rick, you remember Marius and how he does that Baroque style where he...
Yeah, I was about to say your approach is more ordinary illustration approach now rather than the comic approach.
Yeah, I guess so. The way the guy I watched describes it, he comes from a sculpting background. I've never done that. I've never had the opportunity to really mess with any of that. But he approaches this like a traditional oil painter and a sculptor would.
It is. I can by the sound of it, I've done oil painting myself after all, and a lot of, if you'll go on YouTube and see like big illustrations that are more painterly for like Wizards of the Coast stuff, it's the basic approach for bigger paintings, whereas they skip lines. Yeah,
and that's kind of what I do. Is like I'm trying to do more work where it's like, do I need every little line? Like, okay, like the stretch-looking character in the middle here. Like,
that's the one that I want to zoom in on, because this is a perfect example of that.
Like, does every muscle in the arm need a line there? I don't think it does. Not if you're taking it to like a colored finish. And what I found was a lot of times I would do the pencils and I would do the inks like digitally, and then I would start coloring it. And then there's this entire like part of digital coloring for comics where they color over the line work. Like you hit the little button that locks the transparency on it. That way you can, make the line work kind of blend in more with the colors. And so I was like, well, why the hell am I wasting time drawing that line if I'm just going to make it match the colors?
Exactly. That's what I really like about this. And, I wanted to show this to Rick because Rick is a fine arts guy. He does incredible paintings, and he could appreciate this because you're taking out those extra steps. And this is your new style where you don't have to draw all the lines. You're actually creating the forms with light and shadow without using a line or hashing or like, cross hashing or things like that. You're creating it with color, and those steps.
You know what it reminds me of? Any one of you who played the newest? It's not new anymore, but played the newest Grand Theft Auto game.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It reminds me of that art where they only do the art line in a heavy ink, and then the rest is colored in.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that had some inspiration from you, because I do see a little in it. If not, you should check them out and get inspired from it, because I really want to do that style myself, because it could work awesomely as a comic.
Yes, and this is an evolving art style that is exploring, and so I want to show this. I know this is something that was really cool because it's also for a law firm. And these are like,
I don't know how it keeps happening.
Yeah, I think you cornered the market for comics.
Well, hey, at least now you have good contacts if you get in trouble.
I know, right?
But okay, so we're gonna push it up really fast, real quick, because I want to get into our first live drawing here. So we mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show that Andy is contributing to a larger project. It's an anthology that Brian Silverback's threw together, called Kerra Prime, and it's the Tales from Kerra Prime that's coming up in early or mid-April, I believe. And
April 13th, I think.
April 13th. So we'll definitely talk a little bit more about that at the end of the show. But I wanted to show this. These are environments that Andy's come up with. So a thing that is the bane of some comic book illustrators. They don't like. I'm speaking for me, which I hate drawing backgrounds sometimes. By default, just put smoke. Put smoke, and
that's what he did with the music album, didn't you see?
No.
He hid most of the buildings in smoke.
It was dramatic smoke.
It's smart. It's smart.
Yeah,
that's what that is.
But here we go. I had a time limit. It was like it was all nighter. It was late, and stuff like that. But anyway, let's talk about Andy here. So Andy has done some really cool environmental stuff, and this is just piggybacking off those incredible storyboards where he showed interior shots, architectural shots, and now we're seeing these nature, type things outside. So just really, really talented. And this is what I encourage everybody to go to kerraprime.com, get on the list so that way you can know when it drops, because Andy is contributing to that anthology. And unlike some of the teams that have been assembled where there's a writer and an artist, Andy decided, you know what? I
don't trust on other people, so I do it myself.
I don't think he was quoting you, Andy, but he was probably saying, I know a good writer. You do? Yeah. Me. It's sort of like Andy decided to take this character.
Yeah, because that sounded better. Yeah.
Well, I was trying to say that Andy, is a man of multi-talents there.
I appreciate that, Faye. That remains to be seen. Okay. Andy might be a man of one talent who just decided to try something and just smeared crap all over it. But we'll find out.
Well, this is some really pretty looking crap, I have to say. But I was going to say that you can get and everybody, I think, if you pick up the Kerra Prime Tales from Kerra Prime project, I think you said it was a 8-page story, I believe, that you're working on. Is that
so? We've all done 5-page stories.
5-page.
And this stuff, the environmental work, is actually part of the Kerra Prime handbook, which is not part of the anthology, but I think you can pick it up on the same Kickstarter.
Right.
And this is all stuff that's just showing you the world. So
is this yours as well?
Yeah. Yes. This is the Frost United building. It's one of the main players in the story. Did you
draw all the windows yourself?
Oh God, no! I cheated like hell on this.
It's just a few episodes back we had a guy that would actually do every freaking window by hand.
There was a time in my life when I was younger and less broken.
That's what I'm saying.
And had something to prove where, yes, I would have taken my 0.005 micron and went in and done all of that work. At this point, though, nah, hell
ain't nobody. I got stress symptoms in my hands. Hell no.
No, I've got a bad shoulder. My neck hurts. My back hurts. I'm hungry. I want a nap. Like, no.
I just want a nap. Yeah.
Andy is like one step for becoming the Winter Soldier. He's going to trade in his arm for a cybernetic one because he's done enough windows in his day that it's done. There's no drawing.
See, Allison in the comments know what's up. Cheat whenever you can. Yeah.
Cheat to win when it comes to this stuff.
Yes.
Like,
But not in your relationships, people. We're only talking art.
Just your art.
Yes, Heidi, if you're listening.
Don't blame it on us if you're caught cheating, because that's not what we are saying. Only cheating art.
Okay, all right. Let's stay on target. So these are other characters that Andy has contributed. He did interpretations of more characters from Kerra Prime. I believe, is his name is it Deadlift?
Yes, this is Deadlift. He this is also for the handbook. So they've got character descriptions, location descriptions, stuff like this.
Mm-hmm. Rick, you're gonna love this one because he's a big wrestling fan. Check out this one.
Yeah, this is Muerte Noir.
Muerte Noir, the
zombie luchador. Yeah,
it's the Black Death. This is just really cool, and I love the rim lighting that you did here with these green accents. Just really, really cool stuff.
I like that, Sarah. Art hacks. That's the way. That's the YouTube title that wins, as opposed to let's cheat on art. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now we finished our first hour. We're a little bit into it now, so let's get to the live drawing part of it, and this is going to be live drawing number 1. I'm going to show the character while I set up my cam, and this is where Rick's favorite part of the show, because now Gerald has to shut up. Gerald and Rick gets to take over and talk to Andy while I just quietly draw and maybe throw in a word every now and then. And Rick says, "We already discussed that, Gerald. We already discussed that, Gerald." And so this is that part of the show. But let's look at this character. I'm going to let the two of you talk a little bit about it. Don't give everything away, Andy, because...
Don't tell us what to do, Gerald.
See? He's primed. He's ready to go.
You go do you. You go do you, and me and Andy will do us. Okay?
We got this. We're only going to burn a few, dozen acres down.
Yes. Okay.
We got this.
Yeah, here's the character. His name is Proudhorn. Look at this character. All right.
He looks proud and horny. No. He has a proud horn. That's what I was saying.
All right. Okay, this is what you got to look forward to. Rick is now officially taking over while I set up my cam. You guys talk a little bit before we get ready to do our live drawing. So, Rick, go ahead and pick Andy's brain a little bit without giving away too much, because he's going to
Before I start doing that, I'll just have to remind people at home watching this that this is your time to draw along with us. We got a page called The Art Show on Facebook where you will submit your art if you manage to get it, and we will showcase it here and let Andy see it and forever be jealous that he's not as good as you guys.
And I will be jealous.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous all the time when I see these guys work. And yeah, it's a full body shot. My first instinct when I saw this is that he has that Asian looking mask on him, that Oriental looking kind of mask, but everything else just looks like more American based in his outfit. So I like the mix there. Was that intentional?
So I did not do the initial design on this character. The face mask and the overall look was already done when I got to it. My contributions, I'm the first one to draw his hair. I had the opportunity to put the hood down and figure out what it looked like without that. So that was fun. And I kind of, going back, Gerald, to the Wizards, the art stuff in the Wizards thing.
Can
I
you
will
zoom out?
forever.
Gerald, can you zoom out for the viewers to look at the whole thing?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yes. So I will forever remember there was one of the art things in one of the later issues of Wizard where they talked about Spawn and how to make the capes and stuff like that. And so you had like the royal cape that had all the nice folds, and you had the ratty cape that was all torn up, and then you had the royal ratty, which was folded and torn up. And I've kept that lesson in my head all these years, right? Yeah. So okay, Brian has chimed in. He's telling you like this dude found the cool samurai mask in the wasteland, like Mad Max style, and he was like, "Oh, this looks cool. It goes on my face now."
And it protects me from sandstorms. It works.
Yes. So
because in the world of Mad Max, Sandstorm is still the worst song ever. So you have to try and not listen to it.
Yeah, when Darude comes on, stuff.
Yeah,
bad stuff's happening.
You got to put a mask on to like stop the noise.
Yeah, so like I got to kind of put my flavor on it, and I guess I just kind of wanted him to feel not very like there's some shiny parts there because he's got the metal on him, but I wanted it to feel kind of dingy and like he's out in the sun and maybe smells a little weird. Like that's
well, who doesn't? You're from Alabama, so you know the feeling of smelling weird.
I'm immune to it though, so I don't know what you normal people experience, but like
exactly, it's so funny. Rick, you know what? You're gonna get a lot of hate mail from Alabama.
And then you know what? With all the hate mail I get, it's not gonna. It's fine. Okay. Most of it is from Gerald. So. Oh
no, those are Valentine's Day cards. You're getting completely. The Care Bear stuff is not to be confused with hate mail. So anyway.
Oh.
All right. So here we go. I got my art cam ready to go, and let's everybody take one more gander. Do a screen capture of this character. I want to zoom in one more time so you can see the intricacy of like his mask, because that's one of the really, really just cool things that this character has. He has like these glowing red eyes. He has Rick mentioned it has that Asian look to it, like the Oni mask, the demon masks. Very, very, very cool design. And like we talked about when he was doing interpretations of Elise's characters, this is a chance where Andy, he didn't design the character, but he put his own stamp on it. He put his own look and feel on it. So check this out one more time. Check out this awesome bone staff here. Which is like the horn. Which is
what makes him horny.
Yes, I knew that was where it's coming from. So
it's a very horny staff.
Yes, so I'm gonna let's zoom in one more time, and you can see the detail to the mid torso area. You see the staff. There's a pointy end here.
Pointy end goes in the other guy. Yes, I have this.
Yes, the pointy end that goes into the other guy. Yes. So anyway. This is one last look. Draw along with us. So this will be the timekeeper.
Speaking of drawing along, I can really see Roy Mercado do something amazing with this look. It just for some reason the design just screamed Roy Mercado. Yeah. So
Roy,
I'm hyping you up here, man. Oh no, I know.
All right,
then.
Rick is the timekeeper. I think we get 15 minutes for this. So let's start. And Rick, you can.
Yeah.
Asking questions to Andy.
Oh, I can't. Oh, thank you. That's kind of you.
I will say, for anybody who's following along and for Gerald, this is a bad guy. Like this dude is not. He is not the hero by any means of the story. So.
I mean, that can always be debated, right? A proper villain will always be the hero in their own mind.
Yes, that's right. Okay,
that's fair.
I'm gonna shut up and.
Unlike me, I try to be a hero. I'm trying to be the villain in everybody's life.
All right, Rick, it's all you. So, you time keep and.
Yeah, I'm on it. Yeah, gosh. I come back weekly for this, Andy. I mean.
All right.
So my question that I wanted to ask that I had already back when we were looking at your storyboard and all that, I said I wanted to wait a little bit. Is a good one. I think it was Sarah that asked, "What's the difference?" Hang on, let me just find it. Hello, I can't. Yo, there it is. do you feel that? What is the difference between advertising storyboards and movie storyboards? Have you done both?
That's great. So yeah, that's a question that I've asked a lot myself.
Interesting.
And generally, yeah, and I have done both. I've worked on like a low budget feature and a couple of short films and stuff, and I've done the advertising thing for a while now. The difference generally is detail level and what's the purpose of this. So like there are these things called shooting boards where it's they're going to be looser, they're going to be faster, and they're really more for the people who are making the movie as opposed to anything else. So you're talking about people who understand cinematic language. They understand a lot of what's already going on. So you don't necessarily have to be as detailed with them as far as like, oh, they're not going to understand anatomy or they're not going to understand this or that. But they may have other needs as like you may need to specify like, okay, the action is going to happen from left to right, or like we need a camera zoom in right here. And that's information that you wouldn't necessarily have to give someone who didn't know about, I guess, the intricacies of shooting something, because they wouldn't be able to use that information anyway. So like the stuff that I do a lot of is stuff that you're going to show to people who aren't necessarily creative people. They're more like, they're the store owners, they're the managers of something. Like they know what they do, they know their business. They don't know cameras, they don't know jib language, they don't know storytelling language necessarily. So that's really the major difference, is knowing your audience. Like, who are you showing what to and why?
I've worked with movies before and done storyboards as well, and right on the point. It's the basics of things. Is know your audience and who you're doing it for. And when you work with advertisement like what you showed me, well, the people that's gonna approve it might not know the same thing as movie professionals knows.
Yeah, and like the people who are shooting something like this, they're not really going to need you to be detailed about an environment, because when they get there, they're going to see the environment. They're going to know what it is. But the client might need you to show them that, like, oh, I'm specifically going to be shooting in this room from this angle, and because they're the ones who are giving you the money to do it, and they're like, okay, yeah, I really like that idea. And so you just have to give them different information. That's really what it is. And the other factor is time and budget. So some films or shows or whatever, you're going to have a lot more time to do stuff in, so you can afford to be more detailed. And maybe that's what they want. Maybe they're taking them to someone else within their business, and that is going to be the person who decides whether they get funding for this. So, it's really, really, really knowing who your audience is for this, why you're taking this stuff to them, and then that's it. That's what's going to determine, like, do I go ham on this? Do I not go ham on this? That's kind of it.
I actually got to say also quick. I hope you got your answer there, Sarah, because I personally don't feel it could be said any better. I mean, I could have said it, but it couldn't be said any better by someone else. I'm kidding. It was perfectly well done, and Brian Silverbacks also chimed in with a perfectly good version of it. Movie boards are more for blocks, angles, and camera movements, and I completely agree there.
100%.
So I'm looking at your approach here, startup approach in your art here, and it actually reminds me of. Let's see if how much I messed his name up. Steven Segovia.
Stepien Sajic?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's literally the dude that I have studied for the last 2 years. Like, I get up, I would go to the gym, and while I was on the treadmill, like waking up and stuff, I would be watching his videos. And that, like, he'll say it and I'll say it, like, he is all about being effective. He's not like, oh, I'm going to be the best artist ever. He's like, I'm here to tell you a story, and that's what I'm going to do. And
he does it so. His expressions is just wow.
Man, yeah, it's great. And there's so much of what I feel like now looking back is like wasted effort and energy. Like stuff that you're like, when you're coming up and you know, like, oh man, I have got to get this detail just exactly right. And then you find out later on, like as you go in your career or whatever you're doing, it's like, yeah, that detail that you spent like 45 minutes on and your hand hurts from doing now, no one cares. Like at the end of the day, they are not going to see it. They're not going to notice it. And if you're doing something like comics, people are there to read, and like all your little details are great for other artists. Like we're the ones who notice that kind of stuff, but like the general public, the people who are most likely buying your stuff, they're like, oh yeah, that was cool. I'm going to go read the next thing now. Like, and that detail, it's like you killed yourself over it, but was it essential to the story? Was it something that you just really needed to have in there? And if not, well, maybe leave it out.
Exactly. I mean, he got some heat from his recent Harleen solo because it was apparently he was lazy doing it, and I was like, no, he wasn't. Look at how much he put into telling the actual story. He was more focused on that rather than the small intricate details that, as you mentioned, only people like you and me are gonna look at. Yeah,
and again, know your audience, know who you're selling to, know who you're pitching to. But at the end of the day, like, one, you got a deadline, and deadline is going to determine everything. If you are so hung up on what I call the personal feel of your artwork, like if it's fine to be your own harshest critic, but if that's going to keep you from getting work, maybe rethink it.
Yeah, completely. And it's not like his stuff for how fast he isn't amazingly detailed, because it is.
Yeah.
What he can do with just a few strokes of a pen is like, wow, where did that come from?
Yeah. And, you know, I've heard this said from like fine artists before, other than him, but they'll tell you, painters and whatever, they'll tell you that the majority of the work in a piece happens at the earliest stages. Like in the first 20 minutes, you're going to make or break your piece. And after that, it's all icing.
I mean, completely. The first thing I do while I put down flat colors is put down the main lighting sources as well in it. Instead of, some people likes to wait at the end, and then they end up getting confused about it. Where did I put it? Yep. Have the lighting source put in.
Yeah, and see, I'm always thinking about that, but with this process, I don't. But I know where the lighting's coming from, and if you don't know that, then you're going to be in trouble later.
I like this approach, and I can see that you started him. It was the first thing I've heard, and you're doing it very well. And the best part is you're making it your own.
Yes, and I will happily tell everyone who I've been watching to do this on, to learn how to kind of do this. And I will be the first to tell you that my artwork, while similar in approach, does not look like his artwork, because I am not that good. As far as like, this dude has been using this approach, he's been using this technique. He is far more experienced than I am.
He's mastered it, and you just started it after all. I mean, that's not to put you down. That's just a basic fact. You can't really do better than someone that's done it all his life almost.
Yeah, and so that's another thing that I'm probably not qualified to give advice on anything, but if I were, I would.
Well, neither are me and Gerald, but we do it anyways. So go on.
Speak for yourself. I don't give it. Good.
So like, just because you're not, I forgot. It'll come back to me, or it won't. Either way, it'll be all right.
Well, great. Should I play a Kazoo tune while we wait for you to come back?
Oh yes, please. I love.
You have 5 minutes to go. By the way.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Do you need extra 5 minutes, Andy?
I would love an extra 5 minutes.
Damn.
Okay, so because Andy, our humble and great guest, needs it, we take 5 more minutes.
That's awesome.
If I asked for it, Rick would say, "Nope, not going to happen, Gerald."
But of course, I need to stick speaking of wrestlers, I need to stick to my character after all.
Yes.
So Brian Silverbacks always also said that Proudhorn is a combination of Skeletor, Immortan Joe, and Manma from Just Red type of characters, and you can easily tell that when you see it. The design is so spot on when you hear.
And I have to say, when I got to draw, or when I got to do the actual story for it, past just doing the character design, it was kind of my first outing as far as writing goes, and it was kind of intimidating thinking about doing the bad guy, because well, you know, I hadn't expected my first go at this to be
A villain.
to be trying to tell that kind of story. But at the same time, once I got into it, I was like, oh, right, he's a bad guy. That means, like, I'm just going to do whatever. Like, this is going to be fun.
It's always funnier to write the bad guy because you can get away with more. There's no really...
You really can.
Yeah. The guy can kick kids and everything. You couldn't do that with a hero.
Yeah. Now, I will say, one of the things that that I was kind of trying to be more cognizant of is to not make it a boring bad guy. Like, I get that you can do more with it, but you know, you don't want to make him one-dimensional either. You don't want it to be like, like mustache twirling. So I did try and make the character like give him a bit more depth to him, other than just like, oh, I'm the bad guy, I'm gonna do bad guy things. Like, I try to give him a reason for the stuff he's got going on and all that.
I was about to say I completely see that, but I haven't read the story, so I don't know it yet. I was about to speak out of my butt there, and I shouldn't.
Well, Rick is really good at talking out of his butt.
Gerald is just good at talk. Oh well, he's good at talking badly.
Gerald's good at talking. Oh,
shut up, Gerald.
I really got some love from Rick.
Oh.
Yeah, this stream will never come out on Video on Demand because I will not want video proof of this.
Yeah, Rick is going to edit the video and make sure that comment isn't.
Yeah. So 5 more minutes, guys.
5 more minutes, okay.
I wonder in the comments who's drawing along. Let me take a look here. Still okay. Now, for some reason, the guys suddenly remind me of the goblin, the green goblin that's now purple.
Oh.
Just for like a second until you started adding the teeth. Sarah Simba, as always, is gonna join in with some painting.
Great.
Roy Mercado is probably being lazy and not doing it.
Hey, we're not supposed to cut on our audience there, you know.
And I'm allowed with Roy. He cuts on me as well.
Yeah, you know, I was listening to your the comment from Brian about how I actually never now that I'm drawing the staff, I do see the Skeletor, you know, reference there, but I didn't really notice it, you know, right away. But that's the only thing that's kind of similar. I think you know, this is still very, you know, a unique character, and I'm interested in seeing where the story goes. What can you tell us a little bit without spoiling it? Is there any like thing you can sort of like allude to, like what can be in the Tales from Kerra Prime that can like?
Does it turn out that he was Clark Kent all along?
That would be amazing. No, so I can tell you, it's pretty short, so I don't want to give too much away because it's, you know, it's 5 pages. But I can tell you that my thought process going into it was, I really want to showcase how badass the guy is. This guy is not just some random dude. Like, this dude is the threat. Like, he's one of the big threats out here. And I really wanted to help that come across in terms of like him being kind of scary and showcasing this guy being powerful. So that's really what this is. It's it's kind of no frills. Like something happens. Basically, this dude wants a base, and there are people in the base, and this guy's like, "No, I'm taking the base.
It's my base.
It's my base, and either you're going to give it to me, or I'm going to take it." And mistakes are made, and this dude says, "All right, game on." And that's really what this is. I want it to be fun, and actiony, and just really show off that this dude is not to be trifled with. Like
he's no funny business.
Yeah, and because this is kind of a future-y type thing, he's not like some old movie villain. Like I would recommend getting the handbook and really reading in depth about how the character is described to get a better sense of it. But the direction I took him in was like, man, this dude will just talk trash all day long, and he's gonna enjoy it. And you probably
he's like the evil version of Spider-Man, fighting while trash talking.
Yeah, that's really how this dude rolls. It's like he's just gonna talk all the trash, and that's how it's gonna work.
I mean, that is a fighting strategy as well. After all, I've been told, but not that I fight a lot. I talk trash a lot, but I don't fight a lot. All right, 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay.
So I'm just curious, but you might not be able to tell me because that would be too many spoilers. Does he have magic, or is that big ass staff actually a weapon he uses and not just a magical staff?
Yes.
Right, that helped.
You said a bunch of things, and the answer to those things is yes.
Yeah.
And I hope that those are fun elements.
Take that as you will, people. I just know that I've been following Brian Silverback for some time with also back when I was with the other group, How to Draw Comics and all that, and what he got going is really exciting. I've always been excited for what he got going. He got super plans going already, starting everything. How was it? Did he approach you, or did you just jump in and say, "Hey, pick me"? How did you meet up?
I think the call went out, and I answered it. I think it was like, "Hey, we've got some stuff, and like we got this project coming up. Who would be interested?" I think I threw my hat in, but he also may have hit me up. So,
but
fun story. When I was working on this, I actually had COVID, and I was really messed up on medicine. So, I kind of remember a lot of this, kind of don't.
You just remember you're here.
Yeah. Like it was. There's definitely a lot there that I have forgotten.
You're like so. I had COVID, and suddenly I'm now an artist for.
Yeah, that's kind of how it rolled, man.
That was his radioactive spider that bit him. He got COVID, and he developed super power.
I didn't even. I was also like, wait, I don't understand, because Silverbacks, as far as I know, Silverbacks isn't a lawyer firm.
yeah, I didn't know what to do, man. I was like, hey, what law do you practice? And he was like, no, comics. I was like, oh, that's a new field. I've never heard of that.
What do you mean, comics? How do you spell it? Okay.
I know what that kazoo means.
All right, you got me.
Pencils down.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see, because I had.
Oh! Hang on. Ah! There we go.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Can you zoom in? I want to see some of the. Oh. Wow. And this is.
And look how easy people you sitting at home as well when you're doing art. How easy it can be to come up with the most important of details just with adding some splashes of paint. Like,
yes.
I'm not saying the splashing of paint is really good, well done, because you still need to know where to put it.
You have to know where to splosh. but this is incredible. You can actually even see the attitude behind the mask just because of these colors, because colors evoke emotion, and I totally see where you're going with it, and it reminds me of those. I'm a big fan of those Marvel Cinematic Universe art of books, you know, and they show like these really loose color renderings. Sometimes they just basically are to give other artists like an idea of what the palette is, to set the attitude, the mood of the character. And even though this isn't, you know, there yet, it's like my mind is filling in all the details because you've already established a lot of those things with the color detail there. Just so impressive. I'm glad I didn't because if I started watching you do this, I would not have drawn. I just would have oh, that's how it is. So I'm just gonna look at the post vid after this video has been, you know, this appearance has been done. I'm gonna go look at it. So let's see. Oh, Rick is already there. We got some.
Nice.
This is from Sarah. She says in the comments she needs more time. So you'll probably, if you're part of the art show, Andy, feel free to stick around, and she'll. Knowing her, she'll make sure that she finishes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
She'll probably do watercolors on top of it. She's a very good watercolor artist.
Oh man, I've been messing with watercolors for a couple of years, and it is such a different mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. I never got used to that. I thought, hey, I know oil, so at least I know the basics. No.
Well, the good thing about watercolor is it's almost, you have to control the chaos. It's like sometimes you don't really know how certain things will behave. You know, it's all about the water and the density of, you know, how much water you put in there, how much color. And it's almost like the people that can do it, they do it with such, it's almost like they can control how things appear.
Oh man, there's great energy here. Like, he looks terrifying, dude.
Well, that is Gerald in a nutshell. He always brings the energy in his art.
I mean, it's so good.
I was listening to your story about how he's bringing evil to, he's redefining evil. So I kind of wanted to make sure I did the staff. And but yeah, it was fun, and I can see why Andy really decided to just take Proudhorn by the horns. I don't know. Bad fun there, but I think that I can understand. I'm just looking forward to reading the story because I'm sure that you saw what this character is about, and you're just going to take it to that Andy level. You know, bring out the evil in evil. But yeah, that was super fun. I hope that other people will draw along with us. And you know, we're going to move into our second drawing challenge. Now, this next drawing challenge is we usually, when Rick is my co-host, it's called the Rick Challenge. so this is where Rick gets to shine and basically torture me and of course make our guests look good like they should. So the theme, I know generally what the theme is going to be, and I talked to Andy about this. There's a certain viral fan-made film that's going, it's going viral right now. And if you haven't checked it out, it's by Bat in the Sun, and it's the Dying is Easy, and it's just phenomenal. We had the Bat in the Sun crew. We had the actor who plays Batman on our first ever Comics Cast show, and Joe had the honor of interviewing them and just being able to see, to hear from the man himself who is behind the Batman mask. But this latest iteration, it's like I don't know why Hollywood doesn't do these type of movies. It's a short film, and it's really, really, really good. So I encourage everybody to go check that out. And I think Rick is had to take a little bit of a break right here. So before we get him back in to talk about the challenge, I would encourage everybody to check that out. Andy, are you familiar with Bat in the Sun? Have you?
Yes, I've been following them for a while. I love the superhero beatdown stuff. It's so much fun.
It is, and I tell you, when I watch those things, I have mixed feelings about it because sometimes I'll be on the camp of the losing team, and I'm like going, "That's not how it would happen." This character would definitely beat that person. But
I think they're brilliant for putting out the alternate endings.
Yes, and I love the fan interactions where people can kind of vote, and when they vote, it's like they'll put out the concept of who's going to fight who, and then they kind of let the fans come out there and say, who do you think would win? And then they do little interviews and they say, why would you think that person would win? And you get the warring factions who are saying, oh, this person's going to win because of that, or this person's going to win because of this. And then they show the production. And I tell you, I have to agree with a lot of people. Is where are these kind of type of films? I mean, it's they're for the fans, and I think that some of the Hollywood movies sometimes it's it's somebody's ego that's kind of like dictating certain things and maybe not sort of paying attention to like, they don't need to, satisfy every fan, because that's impossible. But when you go in a completely different direction that is an affront to everything that character stood for like maybe 50 years, that's been around for a long time, then that kind of like rubs people raw. But yes, I'm a big fan of that. I mean, what were your favorite ones? Do you have any favorite Bat in the Sun type?
Any of the Wolverine ones. Like, I feel like that is one of the best depictions of Wolverine in any media, is the way that they handle him. Like, he's gruff. He's like, he looks like he needs a shower. And like, he's always got the story. Like, that is, to me, like, that is the Claremont era Wolverine walking around in real life.
Yes, and you are it's so true. And what I think, no slight on Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, but I remember when Jackman was cast, I was like, he's way too tall to be Wolverine. I wanted him to be the runt and hairy, just kind of stumpy, just really and like a Wolverine, ready to throw anybody who gives him grief. But everybody now, I mean, I appreciate Jackman's Wolverine. I think he's really good. But like you said, the Wolverine in these Bat in the Sun ones is incredible. Now we have Rick back here. So Rick, everything cool? Everything good?
So far, yeah.
Okay.
I might have to jump out while you two are drawing. So. Okay,
no problem. So let's hear a little bit about your challenge. I sort of like set the stage for Dying is Easy. It featured a phenomenal portrayal. I mean, the Batman actor is incredible. But
I got to admit the actor playing the Jokers have a special place to for me when I found out who he was, because I know this movie isn't a favorite of many people, but he also played Abe Sapien in the two Hellboys, and I also believe he played one of the monsters in Pan's Labyrinth. I'm of course speaking of Doc Jones.
Yes,
but he has also done at least one or two shows as aliens in Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I watched the film, the guy can manipulate muscles in his face that I didn't even know existed. He could make one eyebrow go up and down and like do somersaults. I don't know. He just does crazy stuff, and he has this smile that is iconic Joker. I thought that had to be like CG, but apparently he just has this smile that's very Joker-esque. So that being said, I encourage people to check that out. And, Andy does know he's a video game guy, so I'm sure you played the Arkham Asylum games, which were just incredible. And I think they definitely captured that vibe of Arkham Asylum in Dying is Easy. So let's get into the second drawing challenge. Rick, let us know what that challenge is.
Well, the challenge is based on Doc Jones, seeing he's in the new Dying is Easy Batfleck. Not Batfleck, not Affleck, Batfleck, but the other kind of flick. And I was thinking, how about we do a crossover of Star Trek and DC Comics? Pick a character from DC Comics that you like. I'd appreciate if it's within the Batman universe as well, seeing it is a Batman movie we are talking about here. Mm-hmm. And then mix it with a character from Star Trek, like a sci-fi space, like a science fiction space version of, let's say, the Joker. If you take that idea, then you're cheating, because then you're just lazy and not creative. But
I was already thinking of something, but I'm going to say that I didn't hear you. I don't know what you said.
Okay.
So I didn't. I'm not cheating. I didn't hear.
Then you're that's an easy one, right?
Yes,
that's an easy one.
Don't listen to Rick.
Yeah. Carol, shut the fuck. It's my turn.
I was just saying that I didn't take your character.
No,
I'm just saying.
But this whole idea is easy to understand, right? I mean, pretty simple forward. Be as creative as you can, and make me a space science fiction alien DC comic. A character.
Okay.
So are we doing one character, or are we doing like one from each, like fighting?
No. It's a mashup. It's
okay.
like,
all right.
Like example, you take now I use a character from Marvel as an example, but I'm still holding, so Diablo don't get more ideas from me. Take Spider-Man, and put him in the Star Trek universe,
Gotcha.
how would that look with the outfit and as an example? But do it with a Batman character.
Gotcha. All right. So here we go.
And you will get, I think, because this is so easy. So let's say 5 minutes.
Easy. This is not.
No. I just wanted Andy's fair expression, but he didn't change at all. He just took it.
Andy is on. He knows it's more
20 minutes. Let's say 20 minutes.
Okay.
And Joel, I'll have to ask you to. I know that you have a hard time talking and drawing, but I'll have to bounce out again for a little bit, guys. Sorry.
No problem. We'll do that. All right. So. Now that we got the challenge, Andy, I didn't see you flinch. You already have an idea, I'm sure, in your head. Let's go ahead and start drawing. I'm going to bring up your screen again. Add to stream. All right. So mine will be ultra secret because I don't want people to see this because I'm still trying to come up with an idea. So wow. So what do you think of that challenge? Did you already have like a character from the DC universe to go that you can fuse with Star Trek?
Kind of not. Yeah, no, this will be fun.
Okay. Were you a Trekkie? I mean, I was more of a...
I am a hardcore Trekkie.
Oh, then this should be easy for you because I actually am a fan of the old school, like William Shatner, like the early ones, because my dad was a fan of Star Trek, and we had a Betamax collection of, and I don't know if you're a young gun. I'm the old guy here. Do you know you're familiar with Betamax, right?
I am.
Yeah, so that was that's how I got into Star Trek. I watched all these classic Star Trek stuff, and I never really experienced the whole Next Generation type stuff, but I definitely have an appreciation for it. But I'm more of a Star Wars guy.
I literally used to get in trouble at night for staying up too late and sneaking into the living room to watch Next Generation episodes when I was younger. So and my wife did not go through all of that. So over the last couple of years, we've actually been rewatching all of the Star Treks. We started with the original series, and we're now on Voyager. So
wow. So you successfully converted her to one of your passions, then, right?
I think so. I mean, she was always, like, she watched it, but she wasn't like as into it as I was. So it's been really interesting to be able to go through this, and like with her, it's been really fun.
Yeah. So getting back to that whole Bat in the Sun production where dying is easy. The premise was that, actually. Should I put a little spoiler warning here to our audience? So if you guys have not watched it, then put it on mute and just watch the mastery of Andy drawing here. But so basically, I gave that warning right now. The premise is that the Joker is dying, and he wants Batman to come to Arkham, and he wants Batman to put him out of his misery, basically, because they have such a great relationship. I don't know if that's but he wants him to put him out of his misery, and I'm going to leave it like that. I won't reveal what happens with that, but it's just so well done. What were the highlights for you? What did you find to be really, really cool?
The thing that really stood out to me was that they did something really interesting with the Mad Hatter, with Jarvis Tech. Generally, that's like a throwaway character or someone that they use if they want to introduce mind control for some reason.
Right.
And they made him like legit not okay and scary. And they did it in like 2 minutes and without showing him doing a lot, but with like the conversational stuff that happened. I think the writing for that character really, really impressed me. To have someone that you just instantly, like by the time like you see him and like they interact, you're like, oh, this dude's not, not cool, man. Not cool.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, because he's the first villain that you see. Mm-hmm. And it added a level of creepiness. He wasn't like this, somebody that would just be walked over. Usually they kind of make him a little bit frail and a little bit, what's unassuming. He looks like a more cerebral villain, but he got physically in that battle with with Batman. You know, he got a gun and he like laid in a whole magazine.
Yeah. That scene was like really, really well done for me because like, even though he's laying into him, Batman's just like, I don't care. I am going to walk over there and hit you in the face.
I know. The physicality of the actor playing Batman in that fan film, he is just a force. You know, they talk about Batman being a force of nature, and that was it. It's like he wasn't even flinching. He was getting all those bullets reflected off his armor, and he was just like, you know, like a robot. You know, I'm gonna I'm gonna make this guy pay. I'm gonna get the information out of him. But yeah, you're right. That was one of the more striking things that I picked up on it.
Yeah, and the fact that what he said and what the girl said and everything, it's like, oh man, like they've never made him that kind of like villain. They've never brought him down to like a realistic, like, oh, that was legitimately like creepy and scary level. And I really appreciate that. Like, I love it when they do stuff like that, story-wise.
Yeah, it's always nice to see fresh interpretations of characters that, you know, that you kind of like have a determined idea of how they are or how they should be portrayed.
Yeah,
I think that was really cool. And then, you know, the whole sequence at the end where the girl, because, you know, you only see her face, you don't really realize that, you know, when it's the Mad Hatter, and then you see that she's wearing the Alice dress. And
and he says all of my Alice's. I was like, oh,
I know. It had like almost like a, what was that? It had a Seven vibe to it. You know, it had it had that creepiness that didn't even have to be delved into deeper. You know, it just had that one line made it sound like he was much more of a vicious villain. You know, than you'd ever seen him before. But yeah, I was really taken back by that. And then what I liked about when they got to Arkham is they didn't have to show all the villains. You see him, you know, going through all the little cells where all the inmates are at, and you just see glimpses of Batman's rogues. And in those short little snippets, you see some phenomenal talent and just one-liners that deliver the entire character, you know, in just a few seconds. You know, you capture all that.
Yes, the Harley Ivy interaction was wonderful.
It was in just a few lines, and you know we had Killer Croc, we had Zaz, I think.
Yes.
And even Victor, or is it no Hugo Strange?
Yeah, even the guy they had playing Hugo was like, man,
really did a really good job with that, and and I know that we talked earlier too about you being a video game. You used to own a video game store. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Did you play?
That was fun.
Did you play all the Arkham games?
I did. I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed that series. I felt like they really captured the character in a way that they really hadn't captured many characters, especially in games, other than Spider-Man.
I think that definitely set a new bar just for the level of production.
It did, and that's actually got me really excited about the new games, like the new Batman game that they've got coming out. So I'm hoping it goes well too.
Yeah, and what I liked about this whole Dying is Easy thing is that it definitely took some inspiration from that game. I even like the Batmobile. I was just like, I was like, whoa, this could be like a cutscene, a cutscene from the game that was not, you know, it was more stories from the Arkham Asylum, you know, game that they could have weaved into it.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. That whole cinematic feel that the Bat and the Sun crew has is very Arkham, and I genuinely appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, so you said if you had to pick from the Batman's robes, which would be your favorite one? I mean, we talked a little bit about the Mad Hatter and things like that, but is there a villain that kind of like I don't want to say makes, you know, has a special place in your heart? you don't want to have, but you know, is there one that you know, I don't want to say you empathize with them, but is there some villain that really makes you go, wow, that's just a really, really cool, you know, take? That's something that Batman will always be fighting against.
It's I feel like, and this could be said for anything, but I really feel like the Batman rogues are they're like Spider-Man's rogues. Like, you can make them really, really interesting, or you can make them really, really boring. And it's really, really about who's writing it. I think the character that I enjoy seeing the most done with, I think, and has the most potential to me, is Clayface. Because that is like a truly terrifying character if it's handled the right way. And it could be one of the more human, sad characters if you go a different way with them. So I think, like, potential-wise, I love a good Clayface story. A bad Clayface story, it gets rough. But a good one, it can be heart-wrenching, because it's like, is this dude really a monster of choice, or, monster of circumstance, that kind of thing?
You are so right. And, my particular favorite that has a very similar thing, you talk about Clayface being very terrifying in terms of, like, what he could, he could be anybody.
Yes,
he could,
anything.
And then if you think about even his power set, he could do some, he could, it's not like he could be anybody, but he could, like, suffocate you with, he could totally embalm you, or you could be entombed in clay.
Yes.
He just, his villain, his power set potential is just crazy. But for me, I like Mr. Freeze. For the same reason that you talked about, is like, is he misunderstood? And is he really just wants to get back? He just wants his loved one back, his the love of his life, and I think it's a tragic. It's not like he's just, Joker is just evil. It's like there's no bones about it. But when you hear the story about Victor Freeze, it definitely makes you think, well, gosh, you can sympathize with him. You can maybe wonder if he could have been a better person if he was just in a different circumstance.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely another character that, when written properly, is really interesting, because is he a villain? Is he just broken? Like a lot of the Batman characters? That's, if Spider-Man's thing is science gonna ride, then Batman's thing is obviously, like, mental health, like being mentally and emotionally broken, and that's pretty terrifying in a lot of areas, because it's so real. Like, it's not it's not like, oh, this can't really happen. It's like, nah, man, this is legit.
Yeah, and I think that with what they did was, with Victor Freeze, they only show him a little bit, and he doesn't look like he's like the other inmates. They're going to the windows and they're like kind of like chiding Batman. They're like saying all sorts of bad things. He notice he's in there, but he's like thinking of his wife, or he's not that villain that everybody can kind of like think about with all the other rogues. But you're right. Yeah. I like what you're saying about the psychology part of it too, is because if you want to psychoanalyze Batman, it's like these are like his multiple personalities. These are like, if Batman gave into like his inner demons, maybe he would be like, Mr. Freeze. Like, would he go to those extremes? Would he be like, the Joker, and like, but from the other side, and he's wrestling with these other personalities. So I really think that's the reason why Batman stories are so successful, because they represent like the opposite extreme. If Batman if he didn't do his code, what he could become.
Yeah, and I've always thought that, I heard this argument one time about why Batman kills or why Batman doesn't kill now. Mm-hmm. And they were like, yeah, a lot of people think it's because he's got some code, but really it's more of like, he feels like if he can save them, then maybe he can save himself. And like, if they're so far gone, for him, it's like looking in a mirror. Like, if they're so far gone, then maybe he is too. And I've always really thought that was a pretty interesting approach to that character.
Yeah, I think with I think that's why Batman stories are so popular, is because you talk about looking in the mirror, and what do you see? Do you become the villain that you're trying to cut down, or try to keep away from everybody else? But let's talk about a little bit about Star Trek. You being a big Star Trek fan, like which era of Star Trek is your favorite? especially now that you're going down memory lane with your wife.
Before we started watching all this again, in my head, my favorite series was actually Deep Space Nine.
Interesting.
Because it was far more grounded in what it was about. I mean, like it was more of a political, like real struggles of everyday life, not so much like, oh, new alien of the week type thing. It felt more grounded. As I rewatched it, though, while those things are true, it wasn't as much fun as like the Next Generation was. And I feel like each one of the series has its merits. Like rewatching the original series, man, they did some really wild stuff, like really creative. Like we don't have limits here because there's nothing to base this on, so we're just going to go all out. And I really loved that.
Are you talking about William Shatner?
Yeah, the Shatner era. Like they were so creative and like they were dealing with like moral issues and stuff, and it was great. Like to me, that's what sci-fi is. It's like let's push the boundaries of what our world is now and see what we come up with. Like let's imagine the future.
Yeah, and you're so right. I mean, that was obviously a different time period. They dealt with a lot of civil right type things. There was a lot of, and the Klingons. Everybody can kind of like guess who the Klingons represented at that time. Who the Klingons kind of represented at that time. But that just goes to show the timeless storytelling, because I think even Star Trek now, I think some people can argue about what the current iteration of Discovery is. But like I said, I'm a big fan of the older Star Trek. I grew up with that stuff. But you're so right. I mean, they found ways to show some of the more talk about some of the more uncomfortable things and come up with a very sci-fi approach, to handling that. And while I'm going to take a little bit of a break from my drawing, I'm going to look at the comment field and see what people have been saying. But you keep on drawing, so let's see what people said. Let's see. And I'm going to avert my eyes from your drawing because I don't want to. I don't want to see it. So here, I got a comment here from Roy. Roy, we want you to draw, but I'm glad you're commenting. He said he can break the protagonist literally and emotionally, and I'm assuming he's talking about Batman, and it's so true. Batman is I think that what I liked about this particular one is sometimes Batman is portrayed. The really reason why I like what Bat in the Sun did is because a lot of portrayals of Batman are all about his physicality. How he can be just really, really brutal. He's like he's the hand of justice, and he's like all those years of training and things like that. But what I like about the Arkham Asylum games, and I like what Bat in the Sun is doing with theirs, is that they showed Batman as a detective. They showed those short moments where he's analyzing the crime scene and he's tying things together, and it's the big reveal when he talks to the Joker. And I was like, yeah, I'm glad they're showing, because he's not only the Dark Knight, he's the world's greatest detective. And I think that's lost, I think, on some of the Batman films that we've seen right now, is that you don't see that detective skill. And that's Bat in the Sun. They did it, right? I mean, did you catch that?
They did. And I think that's another thing that Bat in the Sun gets about a lot of their productions, is they kind of do the thing that I think Marvel has really honed in on, and that's like picking a genre, and not a superhero genre. Like, what kind of story is this? And then let's tell it. And it's not just like, oh, it's a superhero story. Like I was super impressed when Marvel did a heist movie with Ant-Man. They were like, what are we doing? Oh, this is a heist movie now. And so I think that's part of the thing that makes those stories that Bat in the Sun's telling with like the Bat universe and stuff like that. It's like they pick a genre and go for it. Like this one was a crime noir kind of a mystery thing, and they threw that in there. Like it was almost the same type of bait and switch you get out of a heist movie.
Yes, you hit that nail right on the head, because you never. I think that's the beauty of what Marvel Universe is doing, or Marvel Cinematic Universe is doing with their movies, is that they're not pegging their movies. Oh, we're just a superhero movie. It's like I use it like The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead is not about zombies.
Right.
it's about a human interaction and seeing what people are doing in a very severe, really bad situation. Zombies are just in the background. Marvel Cinematic movies, they're very similar. It's like they are superheroes. There's things on a cosmic scale, but the storytelling isn't lost on that. You can remove the superhero elements out of it, and like you said, the heist movie, Ant-Man. I just rewatched that like a couple weeks ago, and I forgot just how good it was in terms of just how fun and how different it is. And Guardians of the Galaxy, very similar. Who would have thought that Guardians of the Galaxy would leave such a indelible mark on the MCU in terms of, I mean, it had told more of the story of Gamora and Thanos. So very cool.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier about like why some of these studios aren't telling these kinds of stories, and it really seems like because they're just terrified of messing up the property. But you give them something like Guardians of the Galaxy, where like nobody knows who they are, and you just say like, yeah, have a good time, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, people care who Rocket Raccoon is now, really?
It's like who Yondu is. I mean, Yondu, he looks nothing like the comic version. So
absolutely.
I think that's the brilliance. And you talked about, not hating on DC, but it's those risk type things. Is like, I think Marvel kind of like, they decide, let's just shoot for the stars. Let's not have to worry about focus groups. Like appeasing everybody. Let's just tell the best story that we can. And I think that's something that independent creators, like yourself, like Brian Silverbacks, like all of our guests that have been here on Comics Cast, they aren't getting lost in the minutia. They're just focusing on telling a really good story, introducing a new character, being able to tell their story without any of the handicaps of, a board, a board that's telling you can't do this, you can't do that. You don't have to worry about a focus group or somebody telling you you can't do that because it's going to upset somebody. It's just do what you feel is right?
That's it. I mean, try and tell the best story that you can tell, as opposed to, can we make toys out of this? Is this going to be marketable? Like, just tell a good story. That's a lesson I really wish some of these bigger studios would really take to heart, because you've got such great properties. And the reason that I really feel that this is kind of a DC thing is because if you look at DC's animated universe, it is on point.
You are so right. And that's kind of funny because the Marvel animated movies, at least the ones that I watched, in the past, some of them haven't been that same caliber. And
right.
I think what they're going to do with the What If is going to be really cool.
I'm so excited for that.
But you're right. It's like DC nailed their animated division. I think they did a really good job with it.
And I almost wonder if it's because they're like, oh, well, it's just animated stuff. Like, we're not really worried about how this goes, as opposed to like, oh, we've got to make all of our money on our cinematics because, we've got to compete with our competitor. It's like, why don't you just do what you're good at? like, just relax, man. Go do your thing. Go have a good time.
Yeah,
do it
what Bat in the Sun is doing. That's what's cool. All right, I got here. It's 3:16. Let's do 4 minutes more on this, and
all right.
And we'll take a gander. And hopefully, we've got people. Let me look in the field. Anybody that's wants to draw along with us. The theme is to fuse a DC Comics character with a Star Trek franchise character, and we hope that people are drawing along with us because we want to see that. We want that interaction. So you're saying, was it Deep Space?
Deep Space Nine. Yeah, that was initially my favorite. But yeah, on a rewatch, the last season was really hurried, and it wasn't as exciting. Watching Voyager again, like, it's really fun. Watching the original series, they did a lot of really like groundbreaking sci-fi conceptual stuff that I was just so impressed with on another watch. And Next Generation, it was all about the cast. The characters and the casting was so good.
Yeah.
So I haven't gotten to watch any of Discovery or Picard yet. So I'm hoping, like, I'm sure I'll enjoy it because, I don't know, I enjoy Star Trek, so I'll enjoy it, like, regardless.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I haven't watched it yet either, but I have heard a lot of I guess I don't want to give in to like public. I mean, what the public opinion is per se. I want to judge it for myself, but I think there's been a lot of controversy with the new Star Treks.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And it's sad because when you mentioned the next generation, Jean-Luc Picard. I mean, when only Shatner was what you thought a captain of a starship should act like. Jean-Luc Picard comes along. He's like,
yeah,
hold my beer. I'm gonna come up with like a new bar. And he's not replacing Shatner. He just has his own way of doing it. And that
100%.
That was just really, really cool what they did.
Yeah, and just looking at like I guess kind of the behind the scenes lore that like Gene Roddenberry decided he wanted to do certain things a certain way is really interesting to me. Just on like a personal level for all of this.
All right, so a little things here about like some off-topic things here, but I'm going to bring in some more comments here. We got, let's see. We got Sarah, who said that she's going to be doing a finish. She did a random sci-fi crossover, so I'm glad that she's participating. We're going to look forward to seeing that. We got Roy here, who says, what do you guys think of the Snyder Cut? That hasn't come out yet, has it? Are you excited about it, or do you feel they're overhyping the thing? Ha ha. So, what's your feeling on? That was his Joker. Ha ha. What do you think? Do you have any personal opinion about the Snyder Cut that's coming out?
Man, I have no creative opinion about it. I only have my weird, like, from a business perspective opinion.
Okay, let's hear the business side, because we talked about marketing, we talked about advertising. What was your thought?
So, like, from the business side of it, if you can take something that did well enough to make your money back and make you a profit on it, and then like ride this hype train that and like all the viral marketing and the free advertising and the free marketing and all this stuff, honestly, whether it does good or not, people are on the service that it's launching on. Like they would be foolish not to do this thing that has been hyped and demanded, good or not, because they're getting the money for it. They're going to make a good payday off of it, and they have the potential to take this thing and like milk this universe now for like all it's worth.
I know.
Man, go for it. Like do your thing, DC. If people want to give you money, take that money. Give them what they want.
Yeah, and it's unheard of. It's like there was so much controversy when Snyder was removed from it, and then they did this whole other movie. Which you're right, it was modern. I mean, it was pretty successful to a certain extent, and now they have an opportunity to release it again, and not only redo it, but 4 hours. It's going to be 4 hours.
Yeah,
you wouldn't see about doing a theatrical release of a redo. George Lucas, when he re-released Star Wars, he didn't do a 4-hour version of it. Maybe he wanted to, but I think that's really cool. I think that's they're adapting to this whole pandemic model now for movies. They don't have to subscribe to the normal, pushing a 3-hour envelope. That's pretty long already for a movie that's in a theatrical release. But to do it, digitally, through a streaming service, you can throw some of those rules out the window. And I think that's really, really neat that they're going to exploit that.
Absolutely. I think the business model of a lot of entertainment is shifting, and I think they're about to start catching on that the content's going to have to shift with the formatting. I think WandaVision's a really good example of that.
Yes.
And so is The Mandalorian. Like, people want this like on-demand type stuff, so
it allows,
give it to them.
and it allows, you talk about WandaVision and The Mandalorian, it allows for episode treatments instead. So you don't necessarily have to do everything in one shot to do the movie. And if you do a really long movie time, that's already going to be pushing it. But you can develop more characters. You can do a slow build like they did with WandaVision to get to get people invested and want to see what the characters are about. But you can do that slow burn and get you to really appreciate what the writers and what the characters are all about. Really good stuff. I'm really appreciating it. All right, so we are at. How do you feel? Are you at a point where we can stop so we can?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right, good. Oh, geez. Oh my gosh. Oh, are you seeing this, our audience here? So I want our audience to chime in here. That is so cool. And you did this. I mean, that even has the whole Star Trek. It's like he's coming off like like there. It's backlit, like he just got beamed in somewhere. Like the Mad Hatter just got beamed in, and you captured his attitude of the hat with his hand on there, with the fingers up there. Oh, I could see this being like in the next generation. Like, they have those fun things where they would kind of like take characters from history, and the holodeck was just. I could see this like if they had a Batman module for the holodeck, and I could see like Data like maybe manipulating his face to maybe look a little bit more maniacal, and then he could like get a prop, or maybe it's what was So you're gonna hate me because I'm not a next generation guy. What was it? Lore? What was that? Was that
Lore? Yeah.
Okay, good. Lore. I won't get a lot of hate mail from Star Trek because here we go. We have a character here that just really Lore. If he came in and he became he has a couple circuits loose in his head, and he became the Mad Hatter on the holodeck. And I think even the colors, the yellow suit, that could be Lore here.
I was actually shooting for the Data Mad Hatter combo. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So I kind of caught it. Right.
That's straight on.
They're all the same family. So very cool. I got a comment here from Sarah. What did she say? She had some. One thing about movie streams is that not every country has these movies on the stream. Yes, Sarah comes from Egypt. She says it mainly might be streamed in cinema because some countries don't have the numbers of streaming services that the USA has. We mainly use Netflix here, for example. No HBO or CBS or such services here. Yeah, that is sad. And actually, to me, I don't know how you feel about this, Andy, but it's like, I wanted to cut the cable. I wanted not to have to do that. And like, there are streaming services that are just pop, 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 pop. And next thing you know, you are paying the same amount, if not more, for all these streaming services.
I can tell you that it won't last.
Yeah.
That someone's going to come along that's smart, and they're going to be like, well, what if we bundle all these streaming services into one service?
Yeah, I know. They need to do a package deal where they can.
Yes, and if it's not one of the cable companies, I'm going to be really surprised.
Yeah.
And to her, to what she was saying, there's a reason that in a lot of countries, Netflix gets stuff that we don't get here because a lot of these places will license Netflix to like carry their stuff outside of the US because they don't have streaming services outside of it.
That is, yeah. Hey, I just wanted to talk. I wanted to heap some praise on here. Roy says, if I didn't see it live, I would not believe Andy did that in under an hour. Man, I am completely 100% in agreement. Looking at this, it's like, this looks like something that somebody might have I probably couldn't execute it, but if I really wanted to try and do it, it would take me days to try and put this up. And I just love how I'm going to have to go back and watch the video, because if you did the same technique that we talked about before, where you just laid in color blocks, which I'm sure you probably did, and you created this piece, it has attitude, it has the body, the posing, the color treatment. I'm just eating it up. Really, really cool stuff. So as we move into our final drawing thing, I'm going to go ahead and look and see if anybody, if you did post to the art show and you did draw along with us, let me know in the comments field. Rick is normally doing this. He had to bow out for a second. If you could let me know in the comments field that you are, and then we'll definitely feature it. And if you're not ready, we can show it later on in the show. Let me show mine. I want to get my feedback from Andy here in terms of what I did.
Yo, is he a board?
Yes, I did.
No, the Joker board. That's terrible, man. That is terrifying.
Yeah, and you know what? I kind of wrestled with it because the Borg are supposed to be, at least from what I remember, they're very non-emotional. They're stoic, and the Joker is like the opposite of that. So I was debating how do I ended up it's a fusion, so I still kept his maniacal laugh, but I imagine it more like, instead of him cackling, his face is frozen that way. So he's kind of like walking around, and he's been infected into the Borg enclave, but he's I just put all those wires into him. I was wondering if he ends up looking like Deadshot. I I think all the cables in him, it made him a little bit more Borgish. So what
I
do you
like
think?
it. Like I could see the Joker's madness actually messing with the board because there's like precedent for very strong individuals to mess with the collective.
Right. No independent thinking. No independent thinking. Yeah.
So like I don't know what like that would be like introducing a computer virus into the Borg. I think it'd be really interesting to see. Like they might just kick him out. Just be like, nah, man, you're more trouble than you're worth. Get out of here.
Exactly. Your jokes aren't welcome here, Joker. Yeah. So Joe is is the co-founder of Comics Cast. He's chiming in here and he's saying, "Awesome." I couldn't agree more. Andy's work is completely awesome. Just phenomenal work. And I just I'm going to have to go back and watch the process. It's going to be like one of those free tutorials where I get to watch Andy work in the trenches and just produce phenomenal art like this. So we got a few other comments. We got here. Oh, Sarah, thank you so much. And we got Roy in here. Oh, yeah, I like I don't have the muscles like Andy. He goes and works out more than I do, but I try my best to keep up. So let's do our final drawing challenge. And this is something that I've been looking forward to. Let's see. Let's get this out. Okay. All right. So what I would like to do is talk. Let me remove this real quick so I can share the screen one more time. And we're going to go into our third drawing challenge, which is an original character. Like we saw Proudhorn, and that was actually developed by somebody else, and we got to see Andy do his take on someone else's character, which is phenomenal. But when we saw the art at the beginning, when he was doing his elevator pitch, we got to see the creative mind. When Andy is given, a concept project from other people, he can develop other characters. But now we get to see characters that have come from that deep creative well that is inside of Andy. And this is I'm so happy to show this because nobody has seen this yet. At least that's what he told me to make me feel special.
My wife is the only person who's seen this, I think.
Oh, this is great. So this is going to be a great debut. This is what I want to show. So let me share this. And bear with me because I just realized how handicapped I am now when Rick isn't with me on the stream. It's like I've relied on him so much and he's done such a great job being my co-host that I'm like back on my trying to get back on my game here. So we saw this was Proudhorn. I'm going to go back to the first PDF, and I purposely did not go much further because the last one that we have here, this is it. Now this is so fresh that this content there's not much more that's been really explored yet. It hasn't been shown yet, and this is the epitome of all the influence. It's the collection. Ooh, I said collection. This is the collection, and Andy's going to talk a little bit about more of that of all these influences, all these inspirations, all these genres and stories. Because in our pre-show, Andy talked to me. He's a fan of like manga, anime. These are other comics. Video games. So now that he's had his chance, he's a very cerebral person. He's gotten a chance to like take all these things, distill it, and now we're going to get to see his story. This is Andy's story. This is Andy's IP. These are Andy's original characters. And it's so big that we are actually going to be focusing on not the main protagonist in the story. We're talking about characters that are not like sub characters, but they're characters that are part of the bigger story. But he's like George R.R. Martin. Andy's coming up with a big thing. So I'm going to before we get into the live drawing, I'm going to let Andy sort of talk about this universe that he's building. And then once you give that general overview, segue a little bit into what we see right here. And that way we can set up the story that you can further talk about the character that we're going to draw. So Andy, tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll go into the live drawing.
All right. So yeah, this is original stuff out of my brain. As terrifying as that is, the whole premise of the story comes from the In Another World anime stuff. I've watched a lot of it. It's super popular right now, and it's kind of one of those things where it always gets kind of frustrating when you see these characters that are like these young kids, right? and they're unsure of themselves. Like they don't know how to handle it when people do certain things. And you're like, no, just leave, dude. And they don't leave. Or you're like, no, don't go in there. Like pick up the stick, hit them with the stick, man. And they're like, oh, I don't know. So like all of that stuff kind of led me to like, okay, well, what if we did a story about someone who gets launched into another world, but they're not a kid, they're not a teenager, and they have a life to go back to. And that's really what this comes from. It's like, okay, so what if we drop a dude in here who is, you know, he's got a family, he's got a wife, like he's got a life. He's not looking to escape from anything, and he's not dead, so he can go back. So this isn't like that, oh, I'm going to make a new life here where I've got superpowers type thing. It's more like, yeah, this is cool, but I need to get home. Like, I got stuff to do. I got to go to work. Like, come on.
He got his priorities straight. He's like, I got a job to get back to, like no one's ever said.
Yeah.
But it's like, so that's the premise of it. This character, like you said, has been, it's a popular genre. I mean, it's not a trope, but it's a story angle that's popular in a lot of manga about how a character has been thrust from one world into another world, and then the story is developed about how getting back, you know, and you know, we talked about Sword Art Online. We talked about, it's, if anything, you want to go back to, it's like Tron, you know, the classic 80s.
Yeah.
Tron. He's been sucked into another world, and he has to figure out, you know, the protagonist has to figure out how to adapt and, you know, how to get back. And that's a story about this. And I think you came up with a title. It's called what?
The working title I've got right now is Collections. That might change if I come up with something that fits better, or some of the story elements change later on before I start publishing it. But right now, I'm calling it Collections.
Yeah, that was my little Freudian slip when I said collection here, collection because it's actually the working title here. And so yes, we have this great story that you've come into it, and he's and that what's cool about your character, you said that he's not going to be like this helpless, like amnesiac that's been pulled into this world. He knows he has a mission. He knows that he wants to get back. He's going to be interacting with people. He's not approaching it from a discovery standpoint. Like he's actually going to be, I imagine, like he's going to be in situations where he can adapt easily and become more, I don't know, quote unquote powerful. But he's aware of his situation, right? Is that true? So
he is aware of it, and he is the. I'll call him the main character, but I don't necessarily think I would call him the protagonist. He is our link to the story. Like he's from our world going into this situation, but the story's not necessarily about him. Like his story is about him and him trying to get home, but all of these other characters have their own story. Yes, yeah, straight up isekai type of anime.
Yeah, yes.
100%.
Thanks, Sarah.
And like yeah, he's here, but the story doesn't revolve around him. It's more like he gets dumped in the middle of this thing, and there is socio and political stuff going on that's like above his head. Like this dude is not a god. He's not super smart or anything. He's just a normal guy. So there's going to be points where he walks in and they're like talking about stuff, and he's like, "Nope, I don't want to be part of this, man. I'm out." Like, do you guys need me for something here? Because if not, this is more than I like. This is above my pay grade. I
like the attitude here, because it's not. You know, here Roy's chiming in. He says, "Nice backstory." He's like, "I should kick butts, but I got bills to pay." That is so funny. And you know, I think that's the cool thing about, you know, Sarah said that's a whole genre. But I think what you're approaching it, you know, you're a fan of it, so you're actually going to bring a different take on it. You know, in terms of how this character is going to behave in this universe that you're creating.
Yeah, he's not the savior. Like this is not a like dude from another world shows up to save the world. This is more like dude from another world gets yanked into stuff, and he's like, I want to go home, man. like this is cool and all, but like
right. It's like Alice in Wonderland to a certain extent too, but it's on a different scale, you know, type thing. And that's what I think is so cool about it. And we're getting to see it first. I think you said this is something that might be coming out, like, well, it's work in progress, but did you have a timetable of like when you would ideally like to have this shown? Because I wanted to have you on the show. Now that you're debuting it on here, I want all our guests to know, and I want the interwebs, I want everybody to know that Andy's going to come back here when he's got everything more fleshed out. Do you have an idea of when you'd like to, ideally, if you had, you know?
Ideally, I would like to launch this before the end of the year.
Oh, that's so good.
I would like to, like, I've been trying. So this style, the whole point of me learning this style was to be able to move faster, right?
Yes.
But I've had to learn the style up to a certain extent to figure out how much of it I needed to tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm pretty close to that now, of like not having to struggle with this and still being able to make art that's good enough to tell a story. And that's what I'm going for. I want to be able to tell the story and people enjoy it. And I think I'm about there.
Yeah, I think you are. I think I'm just going to say you are, because I don't want you to keep us waiting. And I think that's the way that I look at it. You're we got, this is the whole thing. We shaped this whole narrative, this whole appearance for you on our shows. And I really wanted to showcase your evolution of an artist, showing your technique. And now we're getting into the storytelling part of it. And this is your own baby. This is your own story. And I have this art zoomed in now here because this is the character that we're going to be drawing. And yesterday when we did the pre-show, she was just known as the female hunter. And so now this morning or this afternoon, I found out she does have a working name, and it's so, well, maybe it's her official name. It's so cool. What is her name now?
Yeah, no, this is official name. Her name is Morin.
Oh, it's official. Okay. And what was that again?
Morin.
Okay, so Morin, obviously, it's spelled. There's a really cool way that he spelled it, but it has different meaning, I guess, obviously for us here on Earth. But he's like, I was joking around with this is George R.R. Martin, Andy. Andy's coming up with cultures. He's coming up with like whole races and just everybody that exists in there. There's like a context for who why they look the way they look. It influences their culture. The video game that he told me that he was heavily inspired by was Monster Hunter. And so if anybody hasn't played, if you've seen that game, aside from the obscenely absurd weapons that you could get, I mean, you got a sword that's like 5 times your size and can shoot projectiles out of it. It's just pretty crazy stuff. But you can see some of the influence here of Monster Hunter in it. And, we see the style. This is the art technique that we had talked about before. This is that painterly approach where we got to see in the last live drawing where Andy just puts blocks of colors in and look what he's able to do. We're seeing some really cool things. So this is the female character that we're going to be drawing who's known as Morin. I'm zooming in right now because I want everybody to kind of check this out because we want you to draw along. And I got in the comments field that other people drew along. So when we finish this one, we're going to show draw alongs from the last challenge as well as this challenge. So
nice.
My audience, we didn't forget you. I will get back there. I'm just having to adapt and overcome because I miss Rick. Don't let Rick know that, okay, Andy?
I heard nothing. And it's not like it's being recorded for posterity.
So here we are. We have Morin, and this is actually I want to zoom out really quick here. And so we see Morin here in the corner, and there's some really cool things about her powers, but I want us to get into our live drawing already. So what I would like to do is while we get into the live drawing, I'm going to give Andy, this will be your opportunity just to talk up Morin and her culture and her power set. I want to point this out, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. Check out this. It looks like electricity. It looks like antlers. It looks like, what could it be? And you see these fire. You see like the armor here, which looks like bone. I'm just going to set the stage for what Andy's going to go into. And then you see this one here in the lower left, which looks like almost like it's on another planet, but it looks like a tiger claw and a tiger tail. And you see like this. So there's just really, I think this is going to really impress people and get them involved with it. And you can see here at the top, you see this, it looks like it's forming like this almost like dinosaur looking lizard thing. And then of course there's this supporting character that he's drawn here, which is the male figure. So I'm setting the stage for you, Andy. You fill in the blanks, just without giving away anything, but just to whet people's appetites so that they can know when you come back here on the show what the collection, what Morin is all about. So I'm going to let people look at this one last time. Check her out. Let me zoom in one more time, and we will begin our live drawing. And so you can see what she's about. Okay, so let that spark some creativity. All right. Okay, so let me unshare this and I'm going to mainly leave I'm going to solo out your art screen, Andy. So basically you're just going to be narrating while you're drawing. So as you want to talk, and it's going to be just completely stream of consciousness. You just sort of look at there, and I'll try and pop up some comments, but you just tell us more about this character in your world. All right?
All right.
All right.
Sounds good.
Clock is now ticking. Let's start with 20 minutes.
All right.
From there. All right. Here you go.
Cool. All right. So yeah, this character's name is Morin. The big guy you saw, he is Tayer, Lord Tayer, and they're basically. Oh yeah, I need to start at the beginning of the story, right? So this world that our main character that I haven't named, well, I've named him, but we haven't talked about yet. So this guy is he gets thrown into this world, and this world is kind of like a hub world, and it's a hub world where that connects other worldscapes, other worlds. These hunters come from one of those worldscapes that this main hub world that this dude finds himself on is connected to. And Morin and Tayer are pretty much the representatives from their world that are here. And if Tayer would be considered the shield, then Morin is the spear. And that is to say that like Tayer is the diplomat. He's the one that people want to go out and like deal with stuff and be on the front line and everything. And Morin is there in case things go sideways. And she is the one that you do not want to make mad.
He's like the Dora Milaje, I think, from like Black Panther. They're like the elite bodyguard type.
It's not really that kind of arrangement. It's more of their cultural thing of like, if you were to be on hunt, then you would have certain positions that people would be filling. And like, if he were, think of it in like RPG terms, like he's more of the tank and she's more DPS.
Ah, gotcha. Great comparison there.
So like, that's kind of what I was shooting for with this character. And the Monster Hunter thing comes in because their culture is a culture that started off as hunters, and that's what they do. That's where they are. That's kind of who they are. And they don't just hunt animals and kill them and then like take their bones and their pieces to make like armor and stuff. There's more to it than that for them. This is almost a spiritual thing, to the point of like, it's more reverence. So the bones that she's wearing are not bones from a killed creature. They are almost bones, like bones that are given to her.
They're like ceremonial, maybe, or
well, they're like, it's not so much go find this creature and kill it for them necessarily, so much as it is you have to be considered worthy by some of these creatures. And then like maybe from a graveyard, you would get some of these bones that they would consider like sacred, and that kind of stuff. So they're practical because like the bone armor they're wearing is essentially like top tier. Like you're not going to crack this stuff because it's from a creature that would do that, but they didn't necessarily have to kill the creature to get the armor.
Right. I see what you're saying. And it's showing that their cultural, like the reverence for the creature and what the armor imbues on the wearer, right? Like you said about being worthy for it.
Yeah, because I didn't want them, like I love the Monster Hunter like concepts, a lot of it, but I also didn't want this to necessarily be about conquering and killing for them, because there's so much more to everything than that. And like they have story for that. Like there's more to it, but that's basically what these folks are. Like they're hunters, but their hunting isn't necessarily about killing.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that, you know, they're also like they're great trackers. They're great at understanding new environments. So in this world, part of what they do is explore things from this hub world. So they have access to other worlds, and when they're exploring, like you definitely want these hunters with you while you're doing those kinds of things. And like the lightning and stuff comes because, you know, maybe the creature is ethereal. Maybe it's not a flesh and blood creature like you would normally think like a creature would be. So yeah, I like the fun of that.
Yeah, in your universe, animals, what we consider to be animals, are like totally different. So you could the world is an open book in terms of like what you could do with things.
Yeah, so anybody who's drawing along, like if you can imagine a creature, whether it's like flesh and blood, maybe it's made out of water, maybe it's made out of like plasma and it lives in a star or something like that. Like if you can imagine it, you know, these guys can go meet it.
It's like the Pokemon thing.
Yeah.
Really crazy things here. Yeah, so like I you know, I know that I just want to, you know, dig, you know, we're talking obviously about Morn and you know, her particular race and things like that, but you also, you know, I want to give a little bit of a further backdrop about like some of the other cultures, because you know, we're definitely going to keep on talking about Morn and stuff like that, but you also mentioned to me about some of the other races and other groups that are in there, and I think you mentioned like a lava race or like a cave dwelling race. You want to talk a little bit about that too, maybe, so to get everybody kind of like excited about, you know, about not only the hero character, but you know, we talked about Morn, but some of the other things that you're kind of in the works about.
Sure. So I have sheets like this for all the other races, and there are other characters and everything that are here. So the way I looked at this was, you've got these worlds, and I guess it was just kind of self-indulgent for some of them. Like there's a fantasy world, so there is a world that is knights and like D&D style rogues, and like it's a D&D world basically. Mm-hmm. So you've got that kind of world with those kinds of entities and people, and then you've got another world that is very similar to ours, but you know, they're kind of warlike, but they're relatively the same as far as our technology and culture goes. And you know, what in my mind it was what happens when this D&D world meets up with like a world like ours, that maybe wants to go in and like take their resources for some reason. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, maybe initially like the world that's like ours thinks, okay, well, this will be easy, they're kind of primitive, and they get in there and then someone like casts like a 3rd level spell on them and just wrecks a tank. Well, all of a sudden we got a ball game now.
Yes.
And that's a lot of what my mindset was going through, was like, it would be really interesting to see not just how they interact with each other, but also how they interact with the problems that each one of these groups might face. And when I say that, I mean that given a certain culture, like the D&D culture, for instance, they might look at something that's encountered on another world as like a challenge, to be bested. Like, oh, you know, I will gain quite a bit of experience if I go do this dangerous thing, where the group that's like us might look at it and be like, man, that's dumb, I don't want to be part of that. Exactly. Like
risk versus reward. I don't think dying is a good idea.
Yeah, so like that's kind of how I'm approaching a lot of this. Is like, it would be really interesting to have the D&D guys like, oh yeah, we should definitely go check out this cave, and then have like the hunters be like, you don't want to do that.
I would see like a little bit of, you know, fourth wall type things here, where you can kind of inject some of your humor here in terms of into your storytelling. I know it won't be like that, but it's kind of like I can see
that's what the protag character is for. The protag character is to be like, dude, the hunter just said you don't want to take your ass in there. I'd listen to this big dude here who's wearing the bones of creatures.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of that way, because it's just like, I guess we're going to show the hero character. He's going to be thinking, like, you'll have the thought bubbles that kind of come up there. It's like, yeah, you probably be a good idea not to do that. And I think that'd be really neat. I think that would be a really cool storytelling to see his interaction with, like, when characters around him talk, like what he thinks. He doesn't necessarily have to say anything, but it's like I could see like a little bit of sarcasm, you know, worked in there. I mean, did you think about that? Like how?
Oh yeah. Like, this dude is basically my voice in some of these scenarios, where it's like, because he's stuck here and he's trying to get home, and part of him getting home is having to go with these people to explore and find stuff and like try and figure out, how do I get home? Mm-hmm. And some of the stuff that they want to do, he's going to be like, look, I want to get home in one piece, man. I don't want to go fight some elder dragon for this. Like, no.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. It's like he's approaching. He doesn't have to be like the hero all the time. He's thinking about practicality and survivability. I want to get home. You know?
Yeah, this dude, that's what I'm saying. Like he's not some young kid. Like, you know, he's in his 30s. He's made dumb mistakes already. He's not a teenager. And like he's looking at this like, dude, I just want to get home to my wife. Like, do you know how long I had to wait before I had a job that I didn't hate? Like, no. Like, let me out of here, man. But yeah, that's more of what I'm going for with this kind of thing. Is that kind of feel.
And I like that. It's a little bit more refreshing because it's a, you know, I think that they're the voice of the hero, you know, or whoever the main character is. It's kind of like people kind of expect them to behave in a certain way, but I think with a lot of the new superhero type stories or whatever, it's like showing that it's not always black and white in the so-called hero or main character's mind. You know, there's more to it. You know, they're thinking about a lot of different things other than just saving the day. You know, and I see that that's what you're kind of like approaching with that, you know, with your story.
Yeah, and there will be times when like he definitely doesn't want to do things that he might end up having to do, because I really want it to be a story about people. Like I have the setting, I have the world, I have the premise for like why they're here and why they're doing what they're doing. But at the end of the day, it's got to be about the people. So this guy, even though he's not going to be necessarily like gung ho about doing dangerous stuff, he's also going to have more of a sense of responsibility about like, look, these people are trying to help me get home, and I can't just let them do all the dangerous stuff. Like, I got to help them out, you know, as much as I can. But again, like as far as this dude's concerned, like he's like, I'm nothing special, man. Like I don't have like magic animal powers. What do you want me to do?
Well, speaking of that, it's interesting. It's like, so now that he's been thrust into this world, does he gain like powers, or is that giving away too much? Like explaining what possibly might happen with him. I don't want you to give away things. If there's an angle that you want to save for, you know, another you know, for the story and stuff like that, we can definitely not, you know, approach that subject. But is there something that you can kind of say, like he gets put in this situation? Does he develop something later on? I mean, he's not the chosen one, so he's not Anakin Skywalker or anything like that. What exact is there like an aim to him, or like, I mean, something more about him?
So he will not be normal by by definition. Like he will not be normal. The process of him getting there will be something that changes how he is. Now, whether he's gonna like how that works out or not, probably not.
Well, that makes a better story, right?
Yeah, like I'm kind of a big fan of like life doesn't necessarily make stuff easy for you. So every time like you get that step up, like generally you have to pay for it, whether it's with time, whether it's with effort, you know, something like that. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be a factor in the story. Like the guy is going to be able to do things, but yeah, there's going to be a price for it. And it might not necessarily be a price that anybody would want to pay, regardless of what you get out of it.
Right. And that's always the catch, right? You can't, there's always a trade-off. The devil is in the details in terms of like what makes for an interesting story, right? In terms of
and unfortunately, this guy gets no say in the matter. But yeah, so he's going to kind of be our window and our link to this story, and that's going to be something that he's going to have to deal with, as far as like, yeah, like I really want to get home, but at the same time, like, you know, what happens when you make friends? What, like, regardless of whether you set out to make those friends, when you make friends, especially as an adult, like you feel a type of responsibility, especially when people go out of their way to try and help you. So now it's like, all right, man, I guess I kind of got to do stuff that I really didn't want to do to help out my friends now, because like, I don't know, as an adult, you gain responsibility whether you want it or not, and that's that's going to be a big part of this for this dude too. Is like, I didn't ask for any of this, but I guess because I can do something, I'm going to have to.
Yeah, I think it's like that's a very thing is that when we're put into situations, even if we want to like remove ourselves from it, often we're thrust into it, and that's just going to be the nature of it. We have to like deal with it. And so even that he has his goal of returning home. That's something that he has to deal with. And I guess I guess you're sort of alluding to that he's going to end up caring more about the friends or the people that he meets in this, that he can't be completely apathetic to their causes or their plights, right?
Yeah, and that's another thing about the In Another World stuff is a lot of times when you start dropping people into video games, like there's this uncertainty about like, oh, well, are these even real people? Does it matter if they get hurt? So no, these are real people. There are real consequences for things that happen here. And, it's going to be a matter of like, well, they're in this situation because of me. I've got to contribute now. like,
So when you're saying because of me, do you mean that like his coming to this hub world has caused like some sort of chaos that is causing like rifts among the people there, or is that just
so there is
away stuff maybe, or my
so of the socioeconomic and political stuff that's going on here, imagine this world where this world connects a bunch of other worlds. Like this is the way you get from one place to another, and there is a power balance as far as like, okay, yeah, we're not going to try and invade each other, stuff like that at this point. So when a new player arrives, that could cause some turmoil. And like, there are people who genuinely are just like, yeah, man, we'll help you get home. But when they start trying to do that, it may not be easy, and it's definitely not going to be necessarily fun for everybody. So yeah.
If it was fun, it'd be a fairy tale, maybe on Disney instead, and it's not.
Yeah, like that, and it's not all. I mean, this is my first time really trying to tell a whole story on my own. So I want it to be fun. Like I'm not a kill your favorite character kind of guy. It's like I want you to read this and have a good time. And
so you're not going to do George R.R. Martin and like get us all invested in one character that we think is the main hero or heroine in the story, and then you kill them off in the second issue.
Yeah, I have no interest in doing that. I'm trying my best to just let the characters do what the characters would do. As that's one of the reasons I put so much thought into like the culture and who they are and why they're here and why they're doing the things they're doing, because I feel like that's really going to drive the decisions that they would make, and that's going to make it a lot easier for me when I'm writing to be like, yeah, this is what this person would do. And I've encountered a couple of times where I'm like, man, I really don't like that, but it's definitely how they would act. So
yeah, and I think that's cool because you're getting into the mindset of the character. So I think we talked about how sometimes, well, actually, I don't think we talked about it. It might have been in the pre-show about how sometimes with established characters for non-independent titles, is that when they have a following, they have a history of followers where people have really grown up knowing a certain character, and then all of a sudden they do something that's completely what you would think is out of character. I'm all about new storylines and growing a character, seeing the hero's journey, but when they do something that's completely different from what's ever been established about what they would do, then that kind of like destroys the character. And I think when you're talking about it, especially with your book, you're actually saying, hey, you may not necessarily like something, but you've established what the character's motivations are. So you're making it a point to like say, hey, once I've established this is my character and what they would normally do in a situation, that's it. I may not like it, but that's how they would behave. I think that's really cool that you're really thinking that far ahead, with your characters.
Yeah, I think the most experience I have with something like this is like playing D&D, and that's part of D&D is like, okay, establish the character. Now, what's your character going to do? Like role play it, and that's kind of how I'm taking this. It's like I'm just role playing these characters that I made up as I go.
Yeah, that's so interesting to see because D&D. The more guests that I've had in here, what kind of impact it's made on creators. Because you are creating a character in D&D. That is your avatar in the game. Your representation, and you make decisions based on how you see that character being done, and it's like great practice. I think for a writer like you, that you say you've not done it, but I have to say that maybe you have done it. If you're a D&D person, you've written the story for that character, and you just have an IP, a original character that you developed around it, and now you're telling that story in this world that you're creating.
And yeah, I think that's kind of how I'm approaching it, to not just be completely intimidated. Is like I'm running a D&D campaign of one.
Well, I don't think you need to be intimidated. I think you have a really cool idea. I think that just from what you shared with me, there's so much possibility that we can see from it. So right now we just cleared. It's like 4:03 right now, Eastern Standard Time. I'm purposely not looking at your screen. Let's say, do you want to? This is our last drawing. Let's pull it up to let's give us 7 more minutes. I think that would be. Is that pretty good? You feel like?
Yeah, I can work with that. Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. So actually, I think this is the thing about the nature of our conversations, is that sometimes we hit tangents, and we did. I know that yesterday you talked to me a little bit about these other cultures, these other the lava planet.
Oh yeah.
Cave dwellers. You want to talk a little bit about that? I mean, because you said this is a hub world, so let's talk about some of the other it being a hub. What other cultures come, what other species, cultures, races, what they show up there? You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So we kind of already talked about how there's like a D&D world.
Yes.
From that, we're getting a knight and an archer, because they're the adventuring party, so they're going to come check this stuff out. And then we're also going to have, let's see. Yes, we've got the volcano people. So
yes, the volcano people, which is really interesting.
So these people, their worldscape is basically like what would Earth be like if it was an active volcano? Like if it was maybe younger in its life cycle, more turbulent life cycle of a planet, and all that stuff. So that's kind of where these folks are from. And based on that, like they have I think they've got like white hair, and they've got like ashier skin, and like they're hardy. They're tough people. Like their lungs work better, because it has to in this environment. Like they're just super tough, and basically their insides act like a here's the nerd part. Their insides basically act like a non-Newtonian fluid.
What was that again?
A non-Newtonian fluid.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so like basically you can hit these guys and it absorbs. Like they basically absorb your hits, and they do that so that like they can function in a constantly rumbling environment. So think about it like built-in stabilizers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool with them. Let's see, who else do we have here? We got the night people. So I also thought, like, how cool would it be if we found some people who were from a planet that is completely dark for some reason.
Right.
And
Always in twilight, perpetual twilight, right?
Or just dark, like no light, like zero. Well, like super minimal light.
Mm-hmm.
That's what these folks are. And so these characters have like they've got like really big eyes, and they rely on animals that have sonar to get around. So they're basically all pilots, and they fly animals with sonar. Like that's their primary cultural mode of transportation.
So that's literally like a bat world, right? It's like
yeah, it kind of is. But these people, because of that, they kind of all have the attitude of daredevils, because that's kind of what they are. Like their whole life is just like, we're just going to risk it, man. We're going to do it. So I thought that was pretty fun.
Which is like totally opposite of the hero of the story, because he's like, no, I don't think I need to risk my life to do certain. I don't need to be a daredevil to do certain things.
Yeah, and that's going to be kind of a thing with a lot of these people, is that culturally they're just very different. So when they encounter certain situations, you're going to have some people who are like, we're not going to get involved in this, And then other people who are going to be like, oh yeah, I can't wait. Like, this could be great.
Yeah.
And part of it's going to be like, can these people survive each other? Like, is
You know
that going to work?
You were saying about your favorite Star Trek series, and about a hub world, and I just think about this is like the space station, right? This world is like the space station of like where all these cultures come together, except it's a world, it's not a space station. So you found a way to like take your favorite Star Trek series and build it into something that's your own. I think that's really neat. I don't know. Did you draw?
I'd never even thought about that, but yeah, I mean, that's great.
So now I just psychoanalyzed you. I just figured out where that creative drive is for your new series is coming from. So.
You did, and I appreciate this.
All right, so we got 2 more minutes, and then I'm going to check out the wonderful art that you did, and we can also look at all the art that our other audience participants did. Hopefully they're doing some ones of Morn, as well as that challenge that we did for 2, which was the Star Trek Batman Rogue Gallery.
Yeah.
All right, so we were also talking a little bit about when you do this, when you do release your this new collection story, we talked a little bit about like what platform that you were going to kind of explore. And I think this is kind of interesting for some of our audience to know a little bit about what your thoughts are on it. Because, the hot thing that we talked a little bit of that was like webtoons seems to be a big thing. We talked about crowdfunding, which is what Kerra Prime is going to be under, which is I think it's going to be Kickstarter. What were you thinking about doing in terms of like sharing this with the audience once you start getting full on into it?
I think that, I think doing webtoons is kind of what I'm looking at, with the potential to publish something once I've finished enough of it, so that people can see it, people can enjoy it, with low risk. Like, if you don't like it, you're not out anything but some time.
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm looking at, just based off of models I've seen other people use, and a model that I think I can work within. And not because I've kind of waited a while to do this, and I really want it to be something that once I start talking about it like this, people can see it, and I can enjoy it, and everybody else can enjoy it, and it can just be fun to do. So I think webtoons is probably going to be my best bet. I've got a really good friend of mine who has been doing a couple of different comics on webtoons for a while now. She really likes it. She seems to be enjoying that format, and she's getting better at that. So there's somebody I can ask questions to now.
Yeah. And let's just not forget that webtoons, you don't have to worry about printing costs, right? or delivery costs. You don't have to worry about shipping and physical printing type stuff. So I think that's a really excellent way of getting your creations out to people to look at.
I think so too. And I think that, like, when you start getting into like this lower risk type stuff like that, you broaden your audience a bit, and you get people who maybe wouldn't give it a chance and you can have good stuff happen.
All right. Okay. I think we're at pencils down right now. So
All right.
I'm going to let everybody know. I mean, people put it in the comments field, our audience, if you did draw along. We would love to see that. I'm going to go to that as well, just to see about any past drawings that were done for the last challenge. So you have an extra few seconds here to go ahead and do what you need to do. If you need to darken some lines or no, not lines. You don't do lines. If you want to add some more lighting effects, please do that. I'm going to look up our art page, so that way, our art show, so that we can see what our audience members drew as well. Oh, we got quite a few ones in here. So let's see. This is great. This is so good. All right. Yeah. Okay. Let me prime this so I can scroll through it really quickly. And now I get to do what I always wanted to do, was look at Andy's phenomenal art. So let me check that out. And oh gosh. awesome. So I'm getting to see what our audience got to like see materialize off a gray screen here, and it just come to life. Really cool. I'm gonna look at the comment fields. Really cool. It says here. Let's see. We got a comment here from Roy. I love how characters a really well fleshed out human being. Ha ha ha. Not the typical hero type or far fetched super humanoid with a supreme moral compass. So yeah, that's kind of that's a really cool thing. It's like we want our characters not always to be Boy Scouts.
Which is funny because I'm an Eagle Scout, but yeah, I don't want my character to be like that.
It's funny because you said you're writing the main heroes like he's like you. So it's maybe you're trying to like do the things that you normally wouldn't do, like you're living it through your character. Maybe I don't know.
No.
Like here we have Sarah talking. By the way, I love the design ideas and the bones as armor and such. Let's see. I will try to adjust my drawing them. That's cool. Let's see. We also say Sarah, she was following up on that comment we talked about webcomics. Webcomics is the best way for markets like ours. Yeah, I think it's exploding for a good reason because I think the overhead is a little bit different, and it allows you to really hit a lot of different audiences. And just like manga and anime, there is a web comic for everything. Just you can find all sorts of different styles and different themes and different stories. It's a deep well, of just really cool stuff. All right, so let me minimize your screen here real quick, and all right, so let's go to the web and let's check out what other people have been drawing. Here we go. All right, so
I already like this.
Check this out. This is from, I believe this is from Roy. Yeah, Roy did a take on Proudhorn, and check that out. Roy is a master. He's just like you in the sense that he finds ways to do fewer strokes, and when he does strokes, they're very intentional. He uses a lot of texture brushes, and he just comes up with ways, just like you, to do more with less, and to be efficient, to tell that story without having to get into the minutia. So really good work.
The lighting on this just tells the story, like those deep blacks with the splatter in there to give it a little bit of texture and everything. I love it.
Exactly. I think Roy is the black and white version of you, Andy. Andy, you do the color version. He does the black version of black and white version. So let me close this. Let's scroll up here. Oh, look at this. This is from Sarah. I think she said, I'm familiar with Star Trek, but this popped in my head. So she decided to do Star Wars a little bit. So it's sort of like a fusion of Star Wars and Batman. So
nice.
Your father. Very cool, Sarah. We like that a lot. And we have another entry from Roy here. So
that's great.
So he did the Vulcan penguin. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Ola. Yeah. So live long and prosper and Ola. So very, very cool, Roy. Let's see. And we have another one here. This is from Sarah as well.
Oh, wow.
Look at that interpretation of Morn. So cool. I love it. Love it. Thank you very much, Sarah.
That is fantastic.
And let's see. Same illustration. And I believe, I think that's it. So Sarah and Roy, thank you so much for drawing along with us. It's always a treat to see what other people are doing. And let me stop the screen. And I guess I have to show mine just because we need to advance the show and start wrapping it up. I told you it would be a marathon show. We had so much stuff to talk about because Andy, you're so super talented. So let me share mine real quick. So this is
nice.
My variation of it. So I see why I should do what you do because I can't do. Everything looks gray, so I couldn't do any of those really cool effects that you did with where she gets that electricity that whatever Pokemon she absorbed her powers. I can't show the horns or the thing, so it looks so. It was just me trying to have fun with it, but it was really cool. I enjoyed hearing about your character. I loved doing a take on it, and I can see why it's just really cool to interpret other people's characters, and this is your character. So just really, really, really cool time. So that being said, I love that our audience participated. I really have a treat, when I see that, because I think this is a perfect example of how you as a creator, Andy, are inspiring our audience, with your characters and seeing what kind of, passing along that torch. When you see things that inspired you in the past, that collection that gave you that creative drive, you're doing that now. And when we see, we're gonna have you on a show again to like talk about when it's. I'm gonna get some more of the Kerra Prime people. In fact, that's what we're gonna talk a little bit more about. Let's look at the Kerra Prime website, and let's see. If you go to So if you check this out, this is the Kerra Prime. You can go to kerraprime.com, and this is where you can get a notification to know when Tales from Kerra Prime is going to drop. It's going to be in mid-April. And we also want people to get on the email list so people will know about it. And you can see the 8-page or 5-page. Is that correct? 5 pages?
5 pages per story. I think we get 15 or 16 different stories in there from different creators.
That's beefy. That's a huge anthology. So you're going to be able to see. We're going to feature some other artists, luckily on future Let It Outs. But today is Andy's day. We want to make sure that we plug Proudhorn. So you got to see that crazy, evil-looking villain, Skeletor-esque villain, who is going to be completely badass. We're going to get to see the evil deeds that he's going to be doing in the Kerra Prime universe. So make sure you go to kerraprime.com. Sign up to get notified when it does go live, and support indie creators like Andy, because they have a story to tell and they got the talent to tell that story. So check that out. All right, so let me remove this. And this is the sad part of the show, because this is where I get all weepy, because I had such a thrill, and it was such an awesome experience getting to know you yesterday and today. I hope our audience got some insight into that creative drive, that inspiration that's locked inside Andy's head. He's representing Alabama. He's showing what indie creators can do, and we have like I can count on at least a dozen other topics that we can talk about, but I don't want to monopolize your day, Andy. We'll save that for episode 2 when you return. So let's go to what we call the Oscar speech, which a part of the show, which is where I hand the mic back to you, and you just give us your final thoughts. You can say thank you. You can wish for world peace. You can do whatever you want, but the mic is now in your hands, and go for it. Give us your Oscar speech.
Thank you for having me on and hanging out and talking to me and showing people what I do and giving me a chance to run my mouth about it. My wife gets real tired of hearing me just blabber on about stuff. Thanks to everybody who was like, oh, it's so cool to see people drawing like my character, and to see, I just love seeing other people's art. So big thanks to the people who were like, yeah, we'll draw stuff with you. That was so cool. Thanks to Brian for giving me a chance to work on the Proudhorn thing and giving a lot of us a chance to be a part of this Kerra Prime universe. That's really cool. I don't know how often people who have never written anything before get to write and draw their own little piece of a comic book world, but yeah, that's awesome, right?
It is. Living
the and thanks to Elise for letting me use some of her characters and giving me that inspiration. Her comic is Night and Day. Check it out; it's great. And thanks to all the people who haven't killed me yet. Nice try. I'm still here.
You know what? I am thankful for all the people that haven't killed you, Andy, too, because that just means you can come back on the show. That means that you were able to be on the show because they did not kill you. And that's the humor you can expect from Andy as well. I have to say, for me, it's been an honor to have featured you on the show, and the door is open. We want you to come back. I think our audience just totally, they did what I did. They ate up all your artwork. We were very satisfied, but we're waiting for the main course at the end of the year. Hopefully we get to see the collection, the working title. I don't know if that's what's going to be, but we're going to hear more stories. I encourage you. I mean, I want you to share any of those details, with me, Andy, as you're developing stuff. happy to post that and share it so we can definitely whet the appetites of all of our fans to get them to know when you're going to drop your piece. But in the meantime, check out all the information that's slowly going through this ticker right here, because it's quite a bit. There are many ways to get in touch with Mr. Andy Gray. He is phenomenally talented. He's showing an evolution in art style that's still in development, but is primed. It's ready to go. It just needs to be unleashed on the world. We're going to see some really cool stuff with KerraPrime.com. I'm sure there's stuff that I left out. We had such good conversations, earlier during our pre-show that I couldn't cram it in to your appearance here. So thank you so much. We're about to end the show, and when I end the show, we end it with this, which is, hold on one moment, and I'm going to pull it up here. We talk about our charity partner, which is Golden Fight. And let me share that. And I'm going to share their web page. And let's see. All right. So this is Golden Fight. Now, Golden Fight is a organization that's near and dear to the Comics Cast family. We have a relationship with them because they are friends with the founder of Comics Cast, Joe Tolliver, and he brought them, or they were brought to our attention, from Joe. And they're an organization that I like to call, or they're a charity that I like to call, that is big enough and small enough. They're small enough in the sense that they're not super big in terms of like nationwide. They have a tightly focused area, which is the Mid-Atlantic region, my neck of the woods, which is like Virginia, Maryland, DC. And that allows them to be really big in that smaller focused area. What they do as a charity group is help families who are dealing with very difficult circumstances because their child has been diagnosed with a difficult disease like cancer. And so what they do is when families are focusing on healing their child, they will inevitably experience financial difficulties. And that's where Golden Fight comes in. That's where they're huge. That's why they are big. They can say that 97 to 98% of the money that they raise, the funds they raise, goes to the family. That nominal amount, that 2 to 3%, goes to administrative fees. Things. I think the leadership, I believe they do it voluntarily. They do it out of the kindness of their hearts because they know. I think either from experience or they know somebody that's been touched, who has had a child that's been touched by cancer. So they know that hardship, they can feel it, and they know that they're donating their time to a worthy cause. So if you can, check out Golden Fight. We have no financial ties to them. We just want to promote a great charity. And by all means, don't feel like you have to contribute to them. It's more about awareness. And if you do have it within your means to support a worthy charity, this is a worthy charity to check out. So let me close that out real quick. And I'm holding back the tears right now. So Andy, thank you so much for giving so much of your time. We have hit I told you it would be a great show. We are just over 3 hours, 3 hours and 16 minutes. It's been a great time. I hope you had a great time too. I hope everybody will now go check out these links because this is a way you can commission Andy. You can see more of his artwork as it gets leaked to the world. We definitely are going to have you on a show again, so definitely check us out that way. So that being said, next Sunday, Let It Out, we will return. Please keep Rick in your thoughts and prayers. He had to bail, and he's going through. He has some things that he needs to take care of, and I would love for everybody, if you're friends with Rick, send him a shout out. Let him know you're thinking about him, because I am thinking about him. And I just realized, well, I've always realized that he is a part of this Comics Cast Let It Out broadcast, and he definitely made me realize, if I didn't already, how much I miss him kicking me. So, Rick, we miss you. Andy, thank you so much. And this is Gerald wishing up. Actually, Rick is back. Rick is
the return.
My prayers have been answered. Rick is back. Let me add him to the stream. Rick! Oh my gosh!
Yeah, Gerald didn't miss you at all.
No,
he said
I
stay
didn't.
away.
I watched along a little on the phone when I could.
Oh, okay. So you didn't hear. You probably had bad reception. You probably didn't hear any of that stuff where I was saying that Rick was No, okay. Okay, no problem. Hey, but Rick, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're okay. This is perfect because before we ended the show, I wanted actually you to talk a little bit about your show that's going to be coming up. Do you want to talk a little bit about that before we exit?
Yeah, just a quick one. I think most of you already are aware. I'm making a student mentor 1 hour show that's gonna be on Comicscast after start of next month. It's been pushed a little due to some problems with my PC losing a lot of my files, so I had to start over. That's why it's not out yet, but it will be out, and it will feature mentors like Robert Mazzullo, Keith Mitchell, even Marius from we spoke a little earlier about, and who knows, maybe Andy Gray at some point.
Yes, Andy could be a mentor because his technique that he's honing, I think he'd be a perfect guest. Andy, we're gonna put you on the spot. Would you
anytime?
Would you
anytime?
Like?
You let me know.
Oh, we got it on.
He will be mentoring on backgrounds.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. And doing tiny windows efficiently without having to draw every tiny window with a file.
You can also see here Sarah has been part of it, one of the recordings, and she really enjoyed it. And again, if you still want to be a student, go to the art show. You see the top announcement. It's right there. Go and sign up.
Yes, we want students. I don't know, Rick. I don't know why people aren't beating down the doors.
I don't get it. I have to drag people in.
Yes, if you got
like Andy, if you get offered a free one-on-one segment for an hour with a teacher on a subject of your choice, wouldn't you say instantly yes?
Yeah, I'm going to send them a 6-pack and say maybe we can make it 2 hours. Yeah,
because I'm giving up for free what usually costs a lot of money.
Yes,
and still I'm liking a lot of students. So if you want to learn, no matter your skill set, no matter your experience, just write yourself up on the art show and we'll figure it out.
That is the best advertising for it. In fact, I'm going to work with Andy. We're going to get the legal tiger sharks to come up with some sort of banner to promote Rick's show. I think it's called the Mentor Block. Is that the official name? Is there?
Yeah, I believe that that's what it ended up with, the Mentor Block.
So it's going to be Andy's Tiger Shark Mentor Block promotional strategy web banner. I don't know. I'm just saying that we want students. We need students because we got the talent. We have really great mentors. We just added one today. Andy is going to be a part of that too. So, and actually as a final plug for Andy, which shows just a great character, the testament to his great character, his good, just being a great human being. We talked about Golden Fight, and Andy wants to help with our with Golden Fight in terms of like we have something that we're going to be developing later on this year. So Rick, I know you had like a checklist of reasons why I like Andy. You can add that to the list. It's going to help us out with Golden.
Yeah, I don't. That list is. I need to make a new list then.
It doesn't fit on the paper that he had already. it's like the paper is scrolling up. Okay, so Rick, thank you for coming back. You ended the show on. We were already on a high note, except for me getting ready to cry. So take us out. We will see you all next weekend. Thank you very much, Andy, and we will see you.